right. Good morning. It is 10 a.m. and this is the South Carolina Department of Disabilities and Special Needs. We are holding one of our our meetings here in the community at Spartanburg Community College in the Health Sciences Building in room 115. We would like to thank Spartanburg for hosting us this morning. Let me begin by calling the meeting to order and having Commissioner Blackwood read the notice of meeting statement.
A meeting notice announcing the date, time, and place of the June 16th, 2022 Commission meeting was distributed June 14th, 2022 to appropriate media and other groups or individuals who have requested notification. The announcement and agenda were posted at the Department of Disabilities and Special Needs Central Administrative Office and on the website. Americans with Disabilities Act. The public has been notified that accommodations such as interpreters, mobility assistance, or other assistance will be provided to individuals with disabilities and special needs if requested in advance.
Thank you.
I don't know, I'm Chairwoman, but I don't know if we've got some kind of amplification, but we probably need to
Do a sound check.
yeah, speak kind of loud.
Are we getting
Can
the
you-
sound okay?
Yes, when we were doing testing on everything's good.
Okay, great.
I'm getting tested again.
Is this the microphone here?
Yeah.
Thomas? Okay. All right. Just want to, again, thank you all for being here. We have some guests, I think, from our community here in the upstate. We're excited about being in the upstate this morning. I'm Commissioner Stephanie Rawlinson, and I'm the chairman of our commission. But there are some folks who really worked hard to make today special and to make us to plan this whole day. And first, I want to thank our executive assistant, Ms. Christy Lingard. Christy has been outstanding in her work for this board overall, but she really worked hard to get this set up and get us a place and a time and get everyone here. So I just want to thank you, Christy, on behalf of the commission for everything you do for us. Then I would also like to thank Greg and his team, Greg Metz and his team, our IT team, who has gone out of their way to make sure we can broadcast this today across the state. And we just appreciate you guys. You're always there. You do a great job for us, and we just appreciate you guys as well. We do thank Spartanburg Community College today for having us here. That is a beautiful facility we're in the Health Sciences Building. There are two people with them who were very instrumental in getting us set up. I want to thank Greg Hosack with Media Services Specialist here. And I'd like to thank Ms. Barbara Suttles. She's Administrative Assistant for Business Affairs Office here at Spartanburg Community College. And Ms. Suttles, from what I can understand, is retiring on June 30th after working for the college for 31 years. So that's amazing. And we thank her for her service, not just to DDSM, but to the state of South Carolina. And we do wish her well as she moves on in her retirement. So thank you, everyone who really worked hard today. Welcome, commissioners. Glad to have you with us this morning. We have an agenda in front of you, and I'd ask you to take a moment to review it. And if there are changes that need to be made, if you will, please let us know.
Madam Chairwoman, there is, as I understand, a request, and I would move for an addition to the agenda to add under the legislative update section under old business, so we can hear some information, I think, about budgetary issues.
Okay, we have an amendment proposed to just add a brief update from our legislative affairs group on the budget. Can I have a second to that motion?
Second.
We have a motion and a second on the floor to do that amendment. All in favor of the agenda with the amendment of adding legislative update under old business, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Hearing none, the motion carries, and this agenda is approved with a quick addition under old business of legislative update. Okay, I mean under old business. Excuse me. All right, let's move on to the invocation. Commissioner Woodhead, our brand new commissioner, welcome, and let's have you do our invocation this morning.
All right. Dear Heavenly Father, we come to you today asking for your guidance, wisdom, and support as we begin our commission meeting. We are grateful for this opportunity to have our meeting today here in our community. Please watch over all of us here that are here in person, as well as those who are listening in. Give us the strength and knowledge to open our hearts so we may better serve you and to serve those with disabilities. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Amen. All right, we have the minutes from the May 19th commission meeting. Commissioners, they're in your packet under tab 2. Please take a moment. If you haven't already, just review them. Can I have a motion to approve if you all have read them?
So moved.
We have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please signify by saying aye. All opposed? The motion, the minutes are approved as written. All right, we have commissioner updates. I'm gonna go to Commissioner Thomas first.
Thank you, and I don't have any updates.
Okay, well, we're glad to have you back
Thank
with
you
us.
so much.
Glad you're feeling good. It's great to see you.
Thank you.
All right, and we'll go to the end. Commissioner Woodhead.
I do have something I would like to share. For those of you who don't know, so I have a daughter who goes to Clemson University, and she just finished up her first year. She is a C7 quadriplegic, so she's a full-time wheelchair user. And her second year, they go off and they live in houses and all that. So she has selected her place that she's gonna live. It's a 5-bedroom house, and it's a place called the Pier. So I reached out to the Pier just to tell them, you know, here's a few things that we would like. I know that they don't have to do anything for her, but we would like some bathroom modifications, a few, you know, things to make it a little bit easier for wheelchair users. And the Pier is it's a housing community for Clemson students. And we set up a meeting, and right away, they're like, just tell us what you want us to do. They're super supportive. Said that they have all these, you know, engagements to have the bathroom modified for a roller shower and getting the parking spots and the cutouts in their area all done. And it's an extremely cool thing that they're doing this, and great for our community and others behind her.
I like the fact that you were able to, you told me a little bit about this yesterday. We're able to tell them, hey, don't put your parking spaces at the end of a parking space, because someone in a wheelchair, if they're behind a car, could easily be run over. And I thought that was really wise of you as a commissioner to recognize that. And they've asked you to help advise on some further housing. Is that
Yeah,
correct?
so I told them that Clemson was, you know, they're starting their adaptive sports program, and that's what my daughter is doing now. She's actually the only student there. She plays tennis for them, because no better way to start a program with the thing that you need one athlete for. So they're working hard, and in about 2 or 3 years, they're expecting to have a basketball team. So I kind of let the Pier know, hey, be a good opportunity. There's no place like this in the area that, you know, has accessible housing. And again, they were super excited to even hear that. They told me that they were breaking ground, building new houses, and they would love to make them accessible. And, you know, would like a list of stuff to make their new housing accessible. So
That's wonderful.
I think that's just great of the community and the Clemson community. So
Yeah.
just wanted to say how awesome the Pier has been with that.
Wonderful. Well, I have an update from Commissioner Cohar. He is not going to be with us today. His daughter is getting married, and so he and his family are traveling for her wedding, but he did wish you all well and apologize for not being here today, and just said that he hopes he'll be back next month. But he, like I said, he apologizes for not being able to be here, but the wedding, his wife did ensure that the wedding took priority this week. So, I'll turn it over to Commissioner Miller.
Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning. Have to wake up a little bit.
Our good friend Lou Gossett Jr. called this morning. I told him he was in the great city of Spartanburg, South Carolina.
Wonderful.
And we were privileged to have him as our Grand Marshal. My wife is the great grandniece of Dr. Mary McLeod Bethune. And Dr. Fry joined us, and we brought Lou Gossett to South Carolina Department of Disabilities and Special Needs. And he met with a lot of folks. He shook a lot of hands. And I think he told me to let you know there's 20 more pictures that he have to autograph. They really worked him hard, but he really enjoyed it. And it was a great moment. And then we had the parade, and Dr. Fry, I was driving my long limousine, I was represented in the parade. I had Dr. Fry in the back and Bobby Zorro Hunter, who is the patriarch for the Harlem Globetrotters that played with Meadowlark Lemon. So he and Dr. Fry, I had several bags of candies. So I said to Bobby, I said, don't give all of the candy at one time. He called this little kid, come here. Gave the kid an entire bag of candy. Tells the kid, give it to the rest of the kid. So as we were pulling away, I said, Bobby, take a look over there. The kid went straight to the car. Dr. Fry did the same thing.
That kid's mom, I'm surely appreciated
Yes.
y'all.
I thought Dr. Fry was paying attention, right? She did the same exact thing, same thing. But it was great and it was very exciting. We are on our way now to Washington DC
Okay.
for the statue unveiling in Statuary Hall, where we will be standing there. I'll be the first man on that day. And,
Right.
I'll take my proper role.
Right.
So I'll give the balance of my time back to Barry.
Yeah, Commissioner.
Thank you very kindly, sir. Let me say, the only quick update I have is that I was happy to be helpful with a respite problem that we had here recently in the region in which I technically represent, although truly all of us are concerned about the entire state much more than one region, but I did get to help with that and I was thankful to do that. And I wanted to let everybody know that if you have any other trouble with our respite situation, to don't hesitate to reach out to one of our commissioners to help you out if we need to. And I was thankful to be able to do that. And the other thing I want to say is that, and I don't see Ms. Fry around, obviously, and that's because she is at a conference in DC.
Yes.
And we are thankful to have her represent us there. And because they are hearing many good things that we're doing at DDSN. And so we want to highlight those things, which we are very thankful for,
Yes.
through her and our commission, which I'm very thankful for. So that's all the update I have. Thanks.
Wonderful. Commissioner Blackwood.
Yeah, I do have a few updates. First, I just want to welcome everyone. It's nice to have a commission meeting in my backyard for a change and to be a part of this great community. So thank you for coming, attending today's commission meeting. Again, Stephanie mentioned that we're really trying to get out in the community more with these commission meetings. I mean, we represent the people and the issues across the state, and it makes sense for us to try and connect more with the community and let others know our role and how we want to be helpful to you in your issues, whether you're a provider, whether you're a parent, grandparent, guardian, self-advocate. Please always reach out to us when we when you have concern or you have something that you want to tell us that's working great. We love to hear from the community. And so it's great that we're here today for our commission meeting. And thanks again for everyone who made this possible. We'll have another community meeting probably in a few months somewhere else in the state. So I wanted to thank two executive directors in the upstate. Thrive's executive director, Tyler Rex, invited me and was very welcoming at their board meeting on May 26th. And I just wanted to publicly thank him for that. And this week I was able to attend the Charles Lee Center board meeting. And I appreciate Jerry welcoming me to that meeting. And he's of course here today to share some of the great things they're doing at the Charles Lee Center. And of course, Stephanie's probably going to mention what we did yesterday by visiting the Charles Lee Center and seeing firsthand some of the great programming and innovation going on there. The last thing I wanted to mention was that the governor has proclaimed July 22nd Fragile X Awareness Day. My son, who's 13, has Fragile X syndrome, and we are going to be having a day of awareness at the State House starting at 10:30 on July 22nd. And I just wanted to mention that today and share that event with everyone. So that's my update.
Wonderful. Thank you, Commissioner Blackwood. I do want to highlight, our day yesterday. I spent the day with Commissioner Blackwood and we went up to Charles Lee Center and spent the good part of the afternoon there. I think we kept them much longer than they anticipated us being there. But I was absolutely blown away with the work that they're doing at the Charles Lee Center. We got to visit a lot of really innovative thinking, a lot of forward thinking, which is what we at DSN want to see happen across our state. I was very impressed. We got to meet, pronounce your name for me.
Omar Chirinos.
Omar. And Omar took us through their technology and their innovation for technology. And it was just amazing to see what they could do with housing, and they're going to talk to you a little bit about that as we go on, I'm sure today, but it was amazing, commissioners. And if you haven't been there yet, you need to take the time and go visit. They have an amazing hydroponic program where they grow lettuce for restaurants in our community. It's actually a company now, and it is a profitable company. They have employees that are DSN consumers who are working this project. They also have a landscaping company. And I was just amazed at the things we found out yesterday. And they have a wonderful wellness program, which I was just so impressed with. Everything at the Charles Lee Center was just amazing. They provide a wonderful array of services. And I think that is their strength. From what I can read through all their employees. And we did ask them to present today because I got, let's see, that many pages of notes on my meeting yesterday of things that we need to work on at the state level. So I'm hoping that from what we learned yesterday, that we can take some of what they have and spread it across the state. I also want to encourage our executive directors across the state and our directors of our workshops and day programs. If you have not been to visit the Charles Lee Center to learn how to do some of this stuff, use them as a resource. Go up and see how they're doing it because they're doing it right. They are putting people to work and helping them fulfill their dreams and their lives. One of the best things I think about yesterday, there's a wall, and on the wall is a bunch of clouds, and on the clouds, their consumers wrote their dreams. And it was things that you and I take for granted a lot of times. Things like getting married, living independently in a home, going to college, finishing their college degree, finishing their high school degree. I mean, it was things that you and I can do without thinking twice about it. But their consumers have to think twice, and they help their consumers do that. And I was just extremely impressed with how they do that, and they individualize it for everyone in their community. So I encourage you to go visit. That concludes my update for today. But I am going to now turn the program over for public. I did that, everyone. Yes. I'm going to turn the program over for public input. And we have a speaker today, and I'm excited to have her from Greenville, Sharon DeFleece.
Yeah.
Ms. Sharon, come on up to the podium and address us. Yeah.
Yes, you're first.
Yes.
I don't know what I've got myself into.
Oh, that's okay. That's okay.
Thank
Right
you.
here.
Thank you for coming and for sharing some of your experiences, which is very helpful.
Yes.
Well, first I want to sincerely thank all of you for your dedicated, challenging roles. I can't imagine. And to some degree, I'm sure you can't imagine my role either, and why I'm trying to hold myself together at the moment. And I apologize in advance that I am just a mom with a fried brain. And I'm not one of the moms that sees my child getting a job or whatever. That, you know, a lot of people are in that 2 to 3 year old age for their whole life. And, you know, you've heard of terrible twos and different stages that are difficult. Well, to be stuck in that rut your whole life is, like I said, fried. Anyway, what I do want to touch on is I don't need to tell you the heavy-hearted reasons why it is so overwhelming to me that I have no idea or say so in what the future holds for my 35-year-old totally dependent daughter. Events of the last few years have only intensified those, and I won't waste your time. What I will share is a plea for DDSN to make strides in nailing down and implementing best practices in order to secure better ways to collaborate with our communities, particularly on looking for more innovative ways to expand adult housing, since this appears to be a huge problem where the dial never seems to move forward. And I realize you have an overwhelming job to do within a limited budget, but I guess that's why I'm trying to emphasize on having partners. And this is a huge important issue in helping to preserve families, which are huge assets and if given longevity. I truly believe if a priority was made to target and simplify, as in creating and having a user-friendly toolbox to offer a willing nonprofit, some of your less successful areas could be lifted up. I've seen it happen very successfully by identifying the actual need, educating, and selling it to an ideal fitting partner. And of course, a source of seed funding never hurts. In my experience, just advocating as a parent, like I said, 35 years, I've run across what I would consider golden opportunities that go nowhere because 1, they are unaware of our needs, and 2, no clue how they can help. And to be honest, the system doesn't seem to make it easy for them. From getting contradicting information at times, it doesn't even seem easy enough for those who work in the system every day. As a personal example, I was advised of some updates to the IDRD waiver that would be in effect by now. I shared a couple of the updates with an organization's director whom I've been collaborating with on the topic of housing. Because these updates would greatly boost potential to open up doors toward additional housing. The IDR waiver amendment web seminar was last week. That sure was a disappointment. 1, because I worked my schedule around what was a 15-minute seminar, but mainly because when I questioned about what I had been told, each item was shot down as that those weren't the case, leaving me baffled, disappointed, and back to square one. What I had offered up for suggestion and told would be doable with the updates included. 1, that qualified respite, PC2, companion hours could be provided even in the event a consumer is no longer under their parent's roof, like while in a shared rental situation. I think that has to do with like the money following the individual. You may have a term for that. 2, given the overwhelming shortage of caregiver employees, one solution to permit respite caregivers to have 2 consumers at once at a higher pay rate, although less than paying 2. I can see this being a great for the times like carpooling to the same appropriate activities, if you could, double up. Beyond those were certain things that were shot down that I had brought up. But beyond those, and keeping in mind hours received aren't necessarily provided during the hours you actually need, you take what you can get with not fully addressing the need. I think that's where my heart weighs real heavy right now. Sure, we get hours, but they aren't when they would do me good. Anyway, so some things I would throw out there is like, why not consider some younger people for companion or respite services for a limited number of hours? I've hired some before that plan to be special ed teachers, and they're the best candidates. They don't happen to be at the right age though. Or why not a roster of overnight caregivers? This would be quite helpful in offering a family a week off to recharge. Since one caregiver isn't able to do more than 40 hours, or in such a situation, it might the 40 hours limit be negotiable. Personally, I would absolutely love the chance to miss my daughter, and really think at times she feels the same way. Since things are not in place for a true reprieve, At times, we are desperately in need. I dread every morning knowing someone will loudly start my day, sharing their excitement. So obviously, I'm guilty about it too, over and over again. And my daughter's considered nonverbal, but she talks my ear off, and me, just me. And if somebody could tell me, what's it like to have a nice cup of coffee in the morning? Thank you.
Could I ask her a question?
Let's let her.
Sure, go ahead. Yeah, the other stuff, I don't need to go.
You can tell us if you'd like to finish, we
Or
have
if you want
time.
to send
Well,
us
it-
anything too. we can
Yes.
also do
Oh,
that,
okay.
You know,
Either
Well, I'm
way.
not even sure what the, anyway, I was just gonna note that even before the pandemic, the, like the agency that I used for respite care, that I don't remember, and this could be 15 years ago, as far as them sending me a caregiver. It's always fallen on me. It's like, do they not try to recruit people, I guess would be the word. And so I was wondering, like with the South Carolina Respite Coalition, which that was a godsend. Anyway, like something like that, is a person allowed to advertise that service is out there? Because again, it falls on the
It
parent.
does.
And I live an isolated life. So and obviously I'm far removed from school situations and so forth.
Just a quick question.
Yeah.
Could I ask? I mean, I sure feel for what you're going through. I mean, I took care, I was the person responsible, the caregiver, and you can, if it's basically you can become exhausted pretty quickly. And in my case, I had to take care of two people at the same time. So that was pretty rough, and there was no place to go to get help except just friends who happened to hear that you were by yourself in the world.
Mhm.
Now, there are facilities, and I'm sure I need to be educated, so thank you for coming. There are residential care facilities. What in South Carolina, and I think there are a lot of them, but is there no place among all those residential care facilities that you found that have any kind of capacity to help?
That's scary to me that question's even asked. And I mean, it's a great question. But I have always been told that unless, and I do have a husband, but we try to divide this between the two of us anyway, and it's still overwhelming. But, and not equally.
I hear you.
Yeah.
We know that feeling.
Yeah, I've been told many times, I have the patience of Job. Anyway, that my understanding is a spouse would need to die, and I would have to have one leg in the grave. And then they would consider, and I get that, and I'm not here to be selfish. It's not about me. I just know there's so many people like us. And so say there's a long waiting list.
You
and
don't
wanna jump.
you don't qualify for these
No.
residential
Yeah,
care
because she would
facilities.
be,
That is.
she has to be on the critical needs list.
Yeah,
And
it's
she's
not considered
critical right now because she's.
Is that, are residential care facilities, is there DDS oversight of that, or is that?
We are in the next month's meeting, we are having a program dedicated to eligibility and to intake and that kind of thing. And we're having the head of that division come and address us. So we're gonna ask a lot of those questions.
So so residential care facilities, not DHEC, it's DDSN?
There's a mix.
there's a mix.
obviously, But she would be coming through the DDS
Yes, to
system,
get those.
through the waivers,
Yeah.
and she's waiting. to
How
be-
long, but you've been waiting.
Yes.
You're open, how long have you been waiting?
That's a question, that's a vague answer as far as that I've been told, like, yes, you're on the list, no, you're not on a list, that, you can explain that better,
How
Bob,
are you
and how that
notified,
works.
how are you notified that you were on the list and then not on the list? How are you
By
notified?
asking,
By asking?
Yes.
You didn't get a letter that said
No.
you've now been removed from the waiting list?
no, and I've asked her prior to her graduating from high school,
So that's been at least
over
20
20 years.
over 20 years.
Now, this is a DDSN waiting list, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yes.
so I'm still trying to understand who has ultimate authority for the residential care facilities, I guess, and how that is structured. So You know, I'm asking a question that maybe is something that really you don't know the answer to, and I don't mean to push if that's not available. But I would, Madam Chairwoman, I mean, I would have thought that under a situation like I'm hearing her, somehow there would be some entity among the entities that would be right up her alley.
Yeah.
For someone.
So we
who's-
certainly need to continue to explore those
Well,
things.
and I know we've been talking about needing additional housing for high management patients in the state of South Carolina. I mean, that's something that we need. And unfortunately, our providers, while they may have a bed open, they don't have the staff to handle patients of that level. That level of patients.
You're right.
So right now, I think that's the problem, is while there are beds open in a lot of these agencies, that's why we sent the request out and asked the question, do you have beds open, and, you know, will you take patients? I mean, what level of patients will you take to all these providers? And the unfortunate part is we don't have a lot of providers in South Carolina who take high level patients. And that's something we are working on, actively working.
On the waiting list issue, which is something that when I came on board a couple of years ago,
Yeah.
that was one of the first questions I asked, how does the waiting list system work? And because I had seen some directives from out of the big book of directives,
Yeah.
that it was a massive book, but it was setting time frames that if within 6 months someone had not received a slot, then they were eliminated from the slot, and it was totally unclear to me how they were notified that they had been
I remember
eliminated.
you asking that question.
And I was told, oh, you don't understand, Mr. Douglas. Well, it turned out that's exactly what happens, and here's an example of it.
Yeah.
And, you know, if we can't help somebody like this, what are we here for? This really bothers me.
I agree.
I lived through this. I lived, but only temporarily, and then everybody died.
I agree.
Well, and I see myself dying before this is gonna happen, just because, like I said, I've witnessed it for 20 years.
My patience.
I don't see where anything has changed, say in opening up beds. It seems like you get the same number every time you ask.
And I think the problem is, we can't force our providers to take
Yeah, the
this level
issues,
patient.
the issues.
The state doesn't give us that authority over the providers to force them. However, we can take the beds back, and give them to a new provider who will. And I think we're getting to that
Or
point.
define a residential care facility that will be the high level, that would take them.
And I think that's what we're gonna have to do, is,
The thing that we need to do is recruit more private providers outside of the state to come into the state
yes.
and take care of our critical needs list and these kind of lists. So which is what I've been advocating for a while, and I hope we can continue to advocate for until it finally happens. But you know, the state moves very slowly. But I'll ask, so you're interested you would be interested in your child being in one of our full-time care facilities if that was possible?
Yes. Now, I don't want her shipped 3 hours away, you know, I mean, I realize that that sounds like I'm being picky, but no, she is a loving child and she's not medically fragile. She's just alive.
Well, I don't know where in the state it would have to be because we've opened that up to where anybody can take anybody now.
Yeah.
And they may have to go wherever, but if we had we are working on getting more private providers into our state. I know that doesn't help you much, but I promise we're working on it. And I promise this commission is working more toward those kind of things than any other commission has in the past. And so, and
we're not hesitating to ask our folks to look into those kind of things and find those kind of facilities. I know, let's see, Harley. Have we put out the recruiter position yet?
I don't think so, but I would have to follow up and check.
I know that we are in the process of putting out a recruiter to go out and try to find some private providers and bring them into the state.
Yes, we're
So-
in discussion.
Yes, and we're in discussions about having someone go do that, that it was specifically the providers that will specifically handle this level case.
Privilege.
Well, if I know someone that is their mission, and I believe they will make it happen,
Okay,
where is a bullet point list that makes it easy for them to,
know what level provider?
To become an approved provider for
Right.
DPS.
right.
Right.
Yeah, it would all be within the, as we would go through the procurement process to recruit providers, and they would have to meet the qualifications, become a qualified provider. Of course, if anybody has anything else to add.
Okay, well, can there be work done to come up with a simple list so that,
Sure.
as somebody out there advocating can say, look, this isn't difficult. If you're willing to get on board and this agency can help you.
Yeah.
What is the difference between our critical needs list and a high-level needs list?
All right, I'm gonna have to call Lori to explain that to us. Can you explain that?
Right, so the current criteria to receive residential habilitation through a waiver is that you have to be kind of in urgent circumstances, right? So there are things that are outlined in that policy, loss of a primary caregiver, illness of a primary caregiver, that kind of thing.
And that would
So-
be the critical needs.
Right,
Okay.
so in order to access residential through the waiver, you have to meet that criteria. And I believe that criteria has been in place for probably the last 20 years at least.
How do they deal with parents who have to work? For example, if she had to have a job, what do they do?
So there are other waiver supports that are not residential rehabilitation, which is, respite, there are day supports, adult day health care. So typically, it sounds like your daughter is probably in the waiver if you're getting respite, right? So there's not a waiting list for residential rehabilitation other than the people who meet that criteria for critical circumstances.
Okay.
So.
Okay.
We do have, we are revamping the residential needs policy to try to capture people who need residential perhaps within the next year or need residential at all, right? Because there's not kind of that list out there of folks that would be interested if there were state appropriation available, that's kind of what's driven that.
Okay.
But one positive is the longer she stays with me, the quicker she'll meet that criteria of getting on the critical list. As far as his illness becomes death at some point and, that kind of thing. So, for individuals that can manage it, up to a point.
I don't think anybody in the room would want to justify why it is the way that it is, right? But at the end of the day, it becomes allocation of resources to the people who have the highest level of need for the service at the time, right? And so that's really what it's about.
No, and I get that, and I've heard different stories that it's like, I'm not gonna trample on somebody that's homeless to get a bed, before that person does. That isn't the way we work. And then too, about the saying like, well, I don't want her shift off 3, hours away or something. To me, that is me being a bad mom, and I can't do that. So that's not me not wanting the service, that's me. It would break my heart to do that too.
So Sharon, I really appreciate you coming and sharing.
Yes.
We don't have a lot of parents that come and talk about the real life issues affecting their family, and we all need to hear that more. So
Yes.
I commend you for coming today,
Well, thank you.
and I implore other families to use this venue, use this opportunity with our public input on our monthly commission meetings to bring us real life issues and struggles, because the commission is dedicated to making positive changes. We do not want services going forward to be exactly how they're delivered right now. So really appreciate you coming today and
Well,
sharing.
Thank you, and truly, I do whatever I can in the community. If I hear something, I'm on it, and I'm telling that, telling people what the need is, and yet, like, where do you go from there,
Well, I want you to know how much we appreciate you as well. And I don't ever want you to feel like embarrassed that you're upset about it or anything, because we are all, everyone sitting at this table has had some kind of disability or someone in their family with the disability. We all understand. We totally understand where you're coming from. And we want you to know, please don't ever be ashamed of how you feel about that.
Thank you.
Madam
Thanks for
Chair,
coming. Yes, sir.
going back to what David referenced earlier.
Yes.
If you had a residential care, at least the client would have that option, whether they exercise it or not. That's important.
We need to keep all this in mind as we begin our strategic planning. And I made notes of some things, but you all take some notes as well. So we'll make sure it's in our strategic plan for the future.
And knowing that will take time and money and so forth, that it's like, well,
But at
let's
least
see
we're
what we
gonna
can
move
do to
forward.
the respite, what we can do with the respite in the meantime to be more
Absolutely.
flexible towards that.
Right,
The
right.
respite's got to get more flexible. I have a daughter with the same issue. She's in college, and getting the respite for where my daughter needs help is at the grocery store. And they want them to be in the dorm room with her. And she's like, I don't need them in my dorm room. I need them going to the grocery store with me, or I need them going with me to the library to get books off the top shelf, that kind of thing. So those are problems with respite that we've got to deal with along the way, because they don't necessarily just need help. They need them picking them up from school,
The program needs to adapt to
It
what
needs
the
to make
needs
some
are.
adaptations, and that's something we're
so-
gonna have to deal with over the next 6 to 8 months.
Okay, well, thank you so much for your time and allowing me that time.
Thank you
and
for
listening.
being here.
Thank
We
you.
appreciate you.
Yes.
Have a good night.
We appreciate you. Okay. I was making notes on the back of my agenda, so I'm going to turn it over. All right, now we're going to move to the program part of our meeting. And our first presenter today is Gerald Bernard with the Charles Lee Center. And Gerald's going to introduce his staff as they present to us this morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you all for inviting us. I do need to make a comment, though, about what I just heard.
Yeah.
We have a number of vacancies, and we would love to support your daughter. The other problem is funding. Because most of the money that's going into the system is coming through the critical. And there are a lot of other people who have your needs. And we're not able to, because when we have a vacant slot, there's no funding that's there. It gets used for other services. So just keep that in mind. I think that's something that we need to constantly look at.
Okay.
As we move
You
forward.
mean there is no funding available for the kind of programs you're talking about?
Well, we have vacancies, and the only people we can really look at are the people that are on the critical list. Because those are the only people that have sort of funding attached to them.
Well, she's on the list, but
But she's not on the critical. She's not on the critical. If she were not on the critical list, if she were on the regular list.
So we'd have to qualify the different list and then make sure it gets funded.
Yes.
Yeah.
I just want to make sure that piece is out there as well.
So we basically have to look at the qualifications for that service.
Yeah.
And find the funding for it.
That's right.
All right.
Good to meet you.
We can talk later, maybe. But certainly, it is a critical issue, and we are certainly committed to do what we can do as a provider association and as providers that, we want to serve people. It's just making sure that the money is available to do that, and that's been a difficult thing to do. So, but anyway, I wanted to thank you all for inviting us. I'm going to have Omar and Lois come up here. They're going to introduce themselves and talk about our technology program. We are very fortunate to have a pretty robust program that can also address a number of needs that we already talked about today regarding services. There is a movement within the National Network of Providers, which is referred to as the Technology First Movement. 18 states have already adopted that approach, including several right around us, Tennessee, North Carolina, Georgia. all have kind of moved in that direction. It's a very innovative way of supporting people without being totally dependent on staff supports, but it combines an integrated approach where you're using staff supports along with technologies and allows greater flexibility. And more importantly, it provides opportunities for individuals to live more meaningful lives. So I'm not going to spend a lot of time up here. I'm going to let those two do the work because they're the ones that make all the magic happen in our organization. So I'm going to ask Omar and Lois to come up and talk and present. Thank you.
Morning.
Good morning. Omar Chirinos, and I run the Innovative Services at the Charles Lee Center. And what that is enabling technology. A lot of people are asked, what's Innovative Services? And so today, the PowerPoint, I know you guys have it printed out, is enabling technology, looking past a problem and seeing the solution.
Yeah, it's on, say it's under tab 3
Yes.
on our bind,
Yes.
in our book.
And are they able to see it online as well? Okay, good.
All right, and I'm gonna go to slide 2. And so a lot of people ask, what is enabling technology? And then enabling technology is an invention or innovation that can be applied to drive a radical change in capabilities of the user or the culture. Because a lot of people think enabling technology is an iPad. I want you to think a little bit different because it's not. Enabling technology is an umbrella of different technologies that we use at Charles Lee Center to promote independence for all our individuals. So organizations ask, why do you use enabling technology? What is the purpose of it? And so if you flip to the next page, you'll see the benefits of incorporating that technology into the programs that we have at Charles Lee Center. The first one, of course, is to have greater control over their own lives. That's promoting independence. The second one is it creates more confidence in their environments, whether it's their home or whether it's they're working at their job. The third one would be being able to interact freely in their own homes or in the community or in their workplace. I know a lot of times we have opportunities to help them without having staff there, and that's what the technology is for. The third is, of course, is to increase self-motivation and also expand their learning and their life experiences, because what we don't want to do is shelter them. We want them to live their lives like we live ours. And so that's why we use enabling technology at the Charles Lee Center. And if you guys go on to the next slide, and I'll discuss the different types of enabling technology. Because like I said earlier, it is not just one thing that we do at Charles Lee, but it's multiple technologies. As you spoke earlier, it's very personalized. We use assistive, adaptive, and remote technology to promote independence. And next slide is, so what is adaptive technology? And I know a lot of you guys have an idea what it is. And this is just what I've come up with what it is. And it's just a special version of an existing tool that that person may use, that we might do it differently. Because at Charles Lee Center, we have Alexa in some of our homes. And people are like, why are you using the Alexa? And so we use it a little bit different. Our staff and our individuals interact with each other. Sometimes they don't want someone coming in their room. So the staff just drops in, asks them if they're okay. And that is a form of adaptive technology. If you flip on to the next page, I'll give you examples of it. And I'm not going to go over the examples. You guys can see them there. And then the reasons why we use adaptive technology. It's easy to set up and support. It's cheaper to enhance current technology that you have. So take what you have and enhance that life. The third one, it's very easy to train the person we're serving and the staff, because those two are together. And then the fourth thing is more confidence in use, because they've already had that device. We'll move to assistive technology, and I'm moving quickly because I know Lois has some points to make as well. And so assistive technology, and this is just my definition of what assistive technology is any tool or device that helps a person with disabilities perform tasks with greater ease and independence. These are just some examples. I'm not going to read over all of them. We implement so many different assistive technologies at the Charles Lee Center to promote daily independence for all our individuals. And then here's some of the benefits we use. If you go on to the next slide, it promotes independence, helps manage potential risk, because some of these are as simple as a anti-rollback on a wheelchair. We had one of our individuals that would like to get up and just grab a cookie from the counter. Now, you guys probably would think it'd be easier, just put a seatbelt on him, and that way he wouldn't fall. But no, there's a technology out there that Mr. Ernie can get up, grab a cookie, the chair doesn't roll back from him, and he's happy. And that's what the power of technology is, and using it correctly for those that we provide service to. The sensory technology allows for better sight, hearing. There's mobility technology, and that's the rollback, anti-rollback. And those are just a few examples. And then something that at Charles Lee we do when we promote is remote support technology. We have several homes that have remote support technology. You're like, what is that? And if you look at the example of, and I'll just switch to the examples of what remote support is, and that is the Firefly. We partner with Simply Homes, and we have sensors within the home. So if someone falls or if someone's leaving out of a room, we monitor those devices to ensure that they're safe, but we promote independence out in the community. A lot of individuals that are in remote programs, they love their life. They love what they're doing. When you go in and talk to them, they're like, I love it that I have my own place and no one's always over my shoulder. And that's through remote technology and everything that goes with it. And as you can see, we incorporate the Alexa, the doorbells, pad sensors, but that's just the safety side of things. There's other things we implemented to ensure that their life is full and that they're safe at the same time. And the advantages of remote, of course, is the first thing is it increases their self-sufficiency. They want to do more. They want jobs in the community because they want to go and have more stuff in their apartment or their home. People are not over-supported because we have a tendency to over-support. Sometimes we don't promote independence. And a big thing a lot of providers need to realize is that the reduction of costs for the provider. We're able to maneuver some of our staff that, our individuals in SOP1 is what you guys would call it. We call it remote. Doesn't have a staff there at night. It has all the bells and whistles there as far as technology to watch them. So that staff can go to a home that needs that staff there for moving around and helping them out of the bed and this, that, and the other. So with the technology that we have in place, we're able to facilitate our needs, especially in the time where we're low on people, just being honest, and everyone's going through that. We've been fortunate to have technology in place that it hadn't hit us as hard as some of our other provider friends near us. And then here's some other.
You have people monitoring those.
Correct.
They're monitoring those facilities. Can you explain? They have an apartment set up in the Charles Lee Center, and it's set up just like they would set up a home or an apartment out in the community. And it's things, for example, they can say microwave turn on for 2 minutes, and the microwave turns on for 2 minutes. Or they have heat conduction stoves where they say stove on or whatever, and it turns on the stove. But if the person walks away from the stove, it'll turn off, so they don't burn the house down. The stove is also equipped so that if it doesn't have water in the pot, it will turn off immediately, so that they don't burn, don't catch the house on fire. The sensors on the doors, I thought that was fascinating how you told us about the consumer that goes outside several times during the night to smoke.
Yeah, correct.
Explain that. I thought that was really cool, that someone was actually not watching, but someone knew.
Alert when the door
Yeah.
opened, right, but they didn't have to be actually at the house to.
Yeah, explain
Yeah,
that.
so in our remote homes, we have a third shift. We have 2 monitoring staff that monitor the alerts. They have a iPad, a laptop, and a phone. The alerts come in as a text message, a email, and the severity of the alert could be a call. And so the occasion she was talking about is Cape Town. Cape Town, we have 4 individuals. One of them likes to smoke. So when we did a sleep study, we realized that he gets up at certain times of the night just to go smoke a cigarette. He goes back in and he lays back down. And he's been doing this for what, 6, 7 years now? And the staff, the remote staff knows that when that alert goes off, that they're gonna watch that door sensor to see if it's open and closed back up. And knowing that he's fine, he's just smoking. And there are severities of how the alerts go off. So how the remote staff, responds to the alert. We have first responders that are very close to every home. And we were fortunate enough the way we did it, that we have houses that are like maybe 2 or 3 minutes down the street from each other. So if there is an emergency, a staff can be there within minutes. There's panic buttons that automatically call 911, EMS, and then calls the program manager, then calls the remote, well, first the remote, then it calls the program manager. So there's a level of, what's the word I'm looking for? Alerts, yeah, that will just go out. So they're alone, but they're not alone. Each room has a panic button. If they get up and they don't feel right, they press a panic button. The first thing that'll happen was the remote staff will drop in the Alexa, are you all right? Do you need us to come by? And so that's how we're promoting technology independence together, but safely. And
I think they would find it interesting, the commissioners would find it interesting. You think, oh my gosh, all this technology, it must be really expensive to do this. Can you tell them what you told me about cost on to do?
Yeah, so most of our homes, a Butler system, a Firefly that we've partnered up with Simply Home, runs around about $3,800. And these are just the safety devices. We add other protocols like the Nucleus, the Alexa, and some software to go along with it. So you're looking at $4,800 to $5,000 for a home. But, at the end, we don't have a third shift staff there, 2 third shift staff. So you're kind of saving on that end, but you're safe.
Yeah.
And then they get to live how they want to live. And they don't have somebody watching them eat cereal. That's one of our individuals was why when we asked him, why do you want to live alone? I don't need nobody watching me eat cereal and watching TV. And so that's why we are so strong and we push out the most supported Charles Lee Center.
So your system is synchronized, that is actually reading all of your other systems that you have tied into that one synchronized system.
Correct. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
And one person can look at many different homes at one time.
Correct. The way we've set everything up, we have where the remote support team can see everything. And anytime they'll get that alert, they'll get that email, they'll have the systems up and running on their laptop or on their iPad. So you can be aware that if Cape Town is one of our homes, if an alert goes off, they know what's going on.
Even by room, because you tie into it the Alexa system.
Every room is, yes,
Every
it's
room.
specific, correct. Yeah,
I'm on the page.
yeah.
How many years have y'all been using this technology? Because I'm trying to think when I was on a county board, how many years ago they told us this technology existed, and I'm just wondering how long y'all been using it.
Oh,
Started 8 years ago.
For about 8 years or so.
8 years.
That's what I was
Technology
thinking.
have moved
That's what I
quite.
was
Well, yeah, it's gotten better.
Yeah,
It's gotten
Yes,
so
that was the comment.
Alexa sure helped, I'm
Thank
sure.
you.
Yeah.
Nucleus.
You saw when you were in the apartment, you did not see the sensors. you
Yeah,
did not
that was
see
the really
big
wild
bugs.
thing. I
It's
didn't
about-
realize I was being sent, I didn't realize there were sensors in the room we're in, but it told them when we walked in and out of the room, it told them all kinds of things in the room where we were, but you don't see it.
We
in
know
the
all
room.
sorts of secrets about you.
You know, all kinds of things, that's scary.
That's
Talk about big brother.
Actually, you can actually push it into your man. If you have a big screen television through Alexa, you can actually push it into other.
But you can customize it however
Yeah.
it fits for that person.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's all consent wise as well. What we don't do is we don't put cameras in the bedrooms. That's the first thing we don't. Cameras are, the only camera we really do is the Ring doorbell. And that's for our individuals to see who's coming to their door. And we have iPads or, a little phone that they can answer the door without having to go to the door. That's just some of the other expenses that we add. And it's just another layer of safety, but at the same time of independence. Because just like I do, I have all of what I told you guys in my own personal home. If I don't want to come to the door, I'm gonna speak to you through my little camera in my doorbell and say thank you.
Well, I mean, and the level of patient that can be in one of these homes, they can't be a high-risk patient, am I correct?
That's correct.
And so they have to be, you know, a pretty low-risk patient, but you figure that the personnel can then move over and handle the high-risk ones. That is, with the shortage of employees across the state, and especially in this particular thing with DSPs, you know, it seems to me to make a lot of sense to go spend that money on those low-risk homes for that third shift and be able to use those employees on the shifts where we desperately need staff. And I hope that I really do hope that those who come to us and say, we don't have enough staff, will at least look at this for their low-risk consumers.
To solve some of their problems.
Yeah, and solve some of their
It's not gonna
problems.
solve every
That's
problem that we
right.
have, but
But this is a great start.
innovation is
To being able to,
adaptable
yes.
and as you mentioned yesterday, there's a lot more companies competing and developing
Yeah,
hardware, and so it's driving some of the costs down and make it more affordable for people to access than maybe 5 years ago, which is what technology does, you know.
It's
With
always-
anything, you
always
look at
evolving.
every kind
and
of.
y'all have a consulting that y'all will go in and help other agencies too. So if another agency provider needs help setting up something like this, they can contract with you all to do that service, correct?
yes, yeah, everything we do has steps. We don't just say, we're gonna add this. We've created, forms and steps, procedures to everything that we add and reasoning why we do it. I know you just can't go buy a bunch of things and put it inside a home and see if it works
Yeah.
if you don't follow the right steps to ensure that, the individuals are safe and using the equipment correctly.
And you bring the consumers and the DSPs into this lab that you have. Basically, I kind of see it as a lab. It's a test rooms that have all this stuff that we saw yesterday, Innovation Center, whatever you call it. They can come and try out things within that center and see how it works for them as a new employee, a new DSP. They can use your center to try to get more familiar with technology that they might be using with these consumers that they're serving in the home, things like that. And that's very neat.
Yeah, very good.
So do you have sensors for the clothing?
There are sensors for closing,
You utilizing that?
It depends on the need for that person. I tend not to put our staff in situations where they might forget to put that sensor on the clothing because, of course, when you wash clothes, you might forget to take it off. And so we end up using motion sensors in certain places. That way it has the same effect and doesn't put, all the technology I speak on, it doesn't put any work on the staff.
So in other words, what you're saying, if there's a critical need for me as a patient, then one of the options that you would have is that you could sensitize me where you can monitor me a little closer than you would someone else.
Yes, correct. And I'll give you this example real quick, is we have, because we also provide service in Wilmington, we have an individual who has seizures. And he is 21 years old. He has his own home and there is a chip that's implanted in him. Of course, his parents agreed to this, that if he has a silent seizure in his sleep, even if staff's there, there's no help. But that implant allows, when that seizure happens, instantly it calls EMS, which is only 3 minutes from his home. And then it does the protocol, like I just said, and then it calls the family members, staff, everyone at one time. But the first thing is called EMS, because in reality, if he's asleep and he has a silent seizure, staff's not gonna know anyways, and it'll be too late. So the technology that 8 years ago when we all started is vastly improved. And I know a lot of us in this world don't realize that, but that's my job, is to find that and implement it into our world.
So you're looking at the sleep apnea.
All of that stuff, yes.
You need to go tour.
You do, you really, I encourage
It's
all
right
of you.
up your alley.
You would love it.
I'm on top of it.
All right, go ahead, we're sorry, we interrupted.
And I
Forgive us.
Thank you
for the questions.
Yeah, and I'll I'll finish this up. And if you go to the next one, it's the progression of adaptive technology. And that's just some of the, just showing how far we've come within the last 8 to 10 years. And then the other one was a video, but we're not able to play it. So I'm just gonna go to the next slide and taking the steps to think outside of a box. That's what we do at Charles Lee. We don't think like there's a box. Because if you think like there's a box, you're going to be limited. And I know we don't do that in our own personal lives, so why do it for the people we care? And so if you look past the everyday routines, seeing past the limitations for those people you serve, removing your own insecurities about technology, and being an educator and not task-oriented, you'll be able to see the benefits of this enabling technology. And that's what we do so well at Charles Lee is we don't, when you come here, we see what we can do with you, not what you can't do. And the last thing is the little quote that I love is change calls for innovation and innovation leads to progress.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Lois Dura. I'm with the Charles Lee Center. I've been in the human services field for over 30 years. So I have seen the evolution of services, the evolution of needs, and I've also seen the stagnation within our system. So I do empathize with you greatly. Some of the things that are a great concern within the Charles Lee Center is we have all this wonderful, shiny, amazing technology that's available, but it's not infused into our system. That's very much a concern for us. And part of that is based on providers don't have the funding. There is language in our waiver that speaks to assessment for innovation and technology, and it's great to assess people, but if the state plan Medicaid doesn't pay for it, all we have is a great assessment. We don't have the resources and the funding to be able to put this technology in place that's going to help people. I serve on the QA subcommittee for DDSN, and we have 2 agenda items and 2 only. One is the workforce crisis and what we can do to speak with our legislators, what we can do to increase retention efforts or to be creative with retention efforts. And the other is technology, because that is the way that we're going to combat all the other obstacles that we're facing as a system. We may not be able to open a bed immediately in a home, but if we can put technology in that person's existing home with their family member, maybe that will help provide some resources and some respite. Maybe that'll help provide some relief for that family member. And I come from a caregiver perspective. I was a caregiver for my mother with dementia. I had to use technology for peace of mind. So I very much understand some of the struggles that we're facing, but we've got to look at things very differently. We've got to be creative, and we have to stop being fearful of the resources that are available to us. We serve so many people at the Charles Lee Center, to Omar's point, who have said, I don't need a staff to watch me just live. I need a staff to help me put things in place so that I can live independently and have the quality of life that I want and I deserve as a person, not as a person with disabilities, but as a person first. So when we look at enabling technology and some of the things that we've done, I don't think there's a provider in South Carolina within the DDSN system who has not come and visited us within the last 8 years. Everyone has come and they've seen what we've done, and every one of them has expressed interest. They've shared with us their obstacles, their concerns. They want to be able to incorporate enabling technology into their systems, into their facilities, into their day and their work programs, not just their supportive living and residential programs, but they face the reality of where's the money coming from to do it. So it's not enough to just infuse money into the system. We also have to be creative in how we help those providers who are saving money as a result of using enabling technology to be able to put that money back into their own agency to continue to meet the needs, the expanding needs of those that we provide services to. We are passionate about what we do because we know our why. Our why is what wakes us up every morning at the Charles Lee Center to go in there and one more time try to help somebody have a better quality of life and to give them the privacy and the respect that they deserve. And I think as a system, yeah, we have a long way to go. Let's just be honest. We heard you today. We have a long way to go as a system, but it's not impossible to get there if we stop looking at what's inside the box, to Omar's point, and we start thinking as if there is no box. Okay. So thank you for your time, for listening to us. And we do hope you'll come see us. We hope you'll come visit with us. And we do hope that we can really begin meeting the needs of those who need services. Thank you for your time.
Funding. enforcement budget.
Yes.
Tell me a little bit more where you're going with that.
Technology at the core of what we're talking about is not funded.
Not funded at all.
It's not funded.
Can't be billed to
We
Medicaid.
cannot build that.
So what are the options?
Are other states,
For other.
can other
providers,
states
for
provide, are they
providers.
providing, like Tennessee and North Carolina?
We met with Pennsylvania. Was it Pennsylvania?
Let me come up real quick. So let me give you an example. North Carolina has a grant, $5,000 in the waiver, that anybody who wants technology is able to access that $5,000. I just can't remember, it's a lifetime or it's per year. But essentially, it's per year. So what happens is, let's say Omar is a new person we're serving in North Carolina. He needs some of this innovative technology. Because he's got a waiver, he can get that service, which in this case is the $5,000 or up to $5,000 that can be used. So the provider doesn't have to figure out how to cover that. The way we were able to do it and how we were able to get things started in our own organization really had a lot to do with our foundation that provided a lot of the seed money so that we were able to get things started. And then we were able to save money through our nightly monitoring, and then we reinvested some of that money into those new technologies. So we had a little bit of an advantage there, but that's typically what other states do. They build some money into the waiver to allow providers to access funds to, purchase the technology on behalf, or that technology for the person. And it becomes his technology because it's part of his waiver that pays for it, just like anything else.
So if he were to move from one place to another, that technology would move with it,
Yes, and
other
that-
than what's installed in the.
Correct, yes. And that's one of the real neat things about the technology that we're using today, because everything's sort of Wi-Fi driven. And I'm gonna get yelled at by him later on because I don't know the terminology like he does. But the idea is that it's so transferable because there are no wires anymore.
Okay,
So you move to one place, you move to another place, you just take it with you.
okay.
So
Madam Chair,
Yes, sir.
Carol Stewart is listening,
Yes,
so I'll get with her.
yes, I
From a
talked to her. She
legislative-
texted me. I
Yeah,
told her
from
to
a
call her.
legislative perspective.
I told her, we added it to the agenda.
Yeah, we can look into that.
Okay.
With the
Yes.
bringing of David over.
Yes, I think that's something we really desperately need to talk with our legislators about, is getting the funding for this. Because like you said, in the end, it saves the state money and it helps our strenuous resources right now of people.
Staffing.
Our people are just stretched way thin, and this would really help move some of those people into more critical situations where we could have staff to actually take care of that. So,
What probably happen is I probably need to have a little more dialogue. I'm the chair of the legislative committee. I just need to have a little more dialogue. And Commissioner Thomas is up this way, so it's only a walk for him.
yeah, the two of you need to definitely go
Yeah.
over and take
And
a look at
we'll
the legislature.
get with you on that, so that when we do go to the legislature, and Carolyn is listening,
Yes.
we go with facts.
Well, I know
Like Joe Pratt.
we're working on our legislative policy right now, our legislative agenda for next year.
Yeah.
And so this definitely needs to be part of that agenda, and I definitely want you to be part of developing that request when we go to the legislature. And I would love to, if we could put a video together or something of your center,
What
that we
I,
could present to those
what I do is
legislators.
I'll get with them
That's great.
and, get with David, get with Carol, we'll come up, we'll sit down and put something together, between now, because we'd have to present it around December.
Yeah.
And this could be the model that down in Jasper County or in Williamsburg or in Florence, other counties, so thumbs up.
Very good.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Anything
Thank you for your
else?
time.
Any other commissioners' questions?
I just wanted to say that we need to get some of the providers to prioritize their funding to be able, because many of them have reserve funds, and
Yeah.
so they can use some of that. $5,000 is not a lot.
Is it
Yeah.
5,000 for the hardware and technology, or is it 5,000 for the monthly service fee?
Well, no, that's just for the hardware. That's the additional front cost. We do pay a monthly, through Simply Home, because all the data, and you said we have all the data we need with that analytics. We factor in, we try to get all that information. So there's a monthly cost, for each home, and it's around $120 each home for the Simply Home, and that's for them to store all the stuff. And because a lot of times we have proof that it works, because our remote homes have the least turnover. Our employees will not move from there. They will stay there for 8 years now. None of them have changed. And that's because of the less stress that they go through that technology has kind of removed from. So that's some of the stuff we can use.
Call.
Thank you. Thank y'all so
Thank you,
much.
guys.
Thank you all.
All right, let's go on to our next program. And thank you, Gerald. We appreciate everything you guys did for us yesterday and continue to do. Let's have Ms. Deidre Martin. I'm sorry, I couldn't see there for a second. Deidre, come on up. Deidre's going to talk to us about a Head Start early intervention services.
Great. Thank you so much. Do I just push this?
And this is tab 4 in your booklets, Commissioners.
And she's got a PowerPoint that she's actually
Using?
sharing with people on Teams.
Okay.
We don't see that PowerPoint, but that's no problem because
Yeah.
we'd rather listen to you anyway. So.
Okay, great. Good morning. I'm so excited to be here today, and I'm so grateful for y'all and for DDSN. I'm very passionate about early intervention services, so I love to inform people about them and talk about them and hopefully enhance them throughout the state for our families and children. So I'm Deidre Martin. I'm the director of a Head Start. And I brought with me today, Tammy Finch joined me today, and she's actually one of our families that we're currently serving here in Spartanburg. So I'm going to go through early intervention services, and then she's going to talk about her experience hands-on with getting early intervention. So who we are. We are an early intervention company, and we're contracted with DDSN. We were founded in 2007. And we have grown immensely. The need for early intervention services is huge. We started as 2 people, April 2nd, 2007, and today we're over 40 people. We only served Greenville County, but now we're serving Greenville, Anderson, Oconee, Pickens, and Spartanburg. We have over 35 certified early interventionists, 9 supervisors, 2 regional managers, and 1 office manager. All of our interventionists have infant toddler credentials that they get through the state and a minimum of a bachelor's degree. What is early intervention? So a broad definition, early intervention is designed to help children who have developmental delays and/or disabilities. We measure a child's development through assessments to determine if they are reaching developmental milestones in the following areas: fine motor, communication, gross motor, cognition, and social emotional. Our goal is to make sure that the children on our caseloads, the children we serve, hopefully meet their developmental milestones and hopefully can transition into the education system. We do provide early intervention services to children birth to 5. And we have the main 2 parts of our role in the provision of these services is family training and service coordination. So service coordination, what we do is we help families coordinate any services that can be beneficial to their child or to their family as a whole. I would say majority of the time, one of our biggest service coordination activities is referring our children to additional therapy. So in addition to early intervention, they may get speech therapy, occupational therapy, physical therapy, ABA, things like that. We also help with government assistance, whatever that may look like. All of our families have individual needs. So, and some of our families have more needs than others, but it might be that we're helping a family find a pediatrician that takes their Medicaid. Or it may be that we're trying to obtain financial assistance to help a family pay their water bill, or it can be a number of things. Helping their family find a child care center. Unfortunately, a lot of times children with special needs get, basically kicked out of their child care center. So working families have got to find, somewhere that will take their child and take care of them. And work with them. We help prepare paperwork for daycare. We help families apply for the ABC voucher so they can get financial assistance for daycare. We do refer families sometimes to parent support groups. A great example is Family Connection, if you're familiar with that resource. And they also provide training for families too. And then we also, like I said, help our families with preschool options. Family training. So family training is like when we're actually going out into the homes and child care centers, and through play, we're modeling techniques to address the child's development. The idea is that when we're not there, the family, the caregiver, the teacher are also practicing those same techniques so that that child's constantly being stimulated during their daily routines and activities. In addition to family training and service coordination at a Head Start as a private provider, we provide infant child massage instruction. We have team members on staff that are trained and will go out to our families and provide that service, which can have many benefits, muscle tone. I mean, even you could address communication, sensory needs, and things like that. We also, as I mentioned, do ongoing assessments. We update our assessments every 6 months. It's a great time to monitor progress and also see if there's something else that we might need to be addressing that we haven't or didn't initially address. Developmental activities, that's what we do during family training. We also offer monthly play groups to our families. The idea is that hopefully this gives opportunity for our families to connect with one another. Also, which was really neat, because when I started a Head Start, I didn't think about the other benefit of a play group. But one of my parents on my caseload actually told me that they wouldn't have gone to the park. We went to McPherson Park in Greenville, and they said that she would have been nervous taking her 2 children to the park by herself, especially with one of them having autism. But she said when she came out to the park and was introduced to it and we were there, she felt comfortable. So then she was able to go back to the park and utilize that community resource and playground. So that was really neat. Some of our families, that can be really intimidating, trying out new resources in the community, especially if they have a child with special needs. And she also knew other families were going to be there with children with special needs. So it was inclusive. How we get referrals. So birth to 3, that age group, the referrals come through the state agency BabyNet, and BabyNet is the funding source for those kids. We receive referrals ages 3 to 5 through DDSN, and DDSN is the funding source for those children, which I'm extremely grateful for. With special permission too, which I'm also thankful to DDSN for this, we can see children up to the age of 6 if there's a special circumstance. Unfortunately, sometimes kids fall through the cracks, and it can be any number of reasons. But sometimes we may not get a child until they're 4 years old and diagnosed with autism. So that family's just now entering the whole system of special needs, and they have no idea what to do. And we're able to start them and give them services and get in there and have that extra year. So I'm very appreciative of that. I know that's been I feel like that's been on the chopping board before as something that they may do away with. So I'm very grateful for that. I've got included in this presentation some testimonies, but I'm going to actually have a testimony in person, so that's fantastic. I also have my contact info, and I also brought cards and a flyer. And then I'm so grateful all of these wonderful people went before me and expressed things that they felt could enhance this current system.
Yes. That's what we're here for.
Yes, as I mentioned, I'm very grateful, and I truly am. I'm grateful for DDSN and their support, especially these last 2 years. As everyone knows, I mean, it has been just absolutely challenging. We thankfully were able to pivot to telehealth there for a short while. But if you can imagine providing telehealth services, our services to children birth to 5, it was challenging. So anyway, thankful. But I do have ideas on enhancing EI services in our state. Additional supports would be fantastic. We are subcontracted, like I said, with DDSN and BabyNet. And through this pandemic, as a private provider, I really felt like additional supports would have been extremely beneficial. I know that everyone was, like I said, everyone was being challenged and it was very difficult, but I felt very alone and didn't know what to do. I wish there had been some sort of committee or some sort of reaching out network of all the EI providers. I saw, some of my colleagues were letting their employees go or putting them on, in the unemployed status. And we were all just trying to figure out what to do. It was very difficult, but so additional supports would be great. One support that we used to have in place at DDSN that we no longer have, and I'm not sure what's going on there, but the autism division, they used to offer professional and parent training. So not only training for our EIs on autism, which, I mean, obviously those numbers are outstanding. Training is just so important, but also that parent training piece. They offered free training to our parents, which was amazing. And right now, unfortunately, we have, I don't even know how many children. I think we currently serve 500 children. A lot of those children that are diagnosed with autism are on waiting lists for ABA, so they're not getting any services. So if those families were able to go to training, I mean, at least that'd be something that we could offer them. It's just disheartening not to be able to offer them anything except our service. That specialized service for autism. The autism division also had autism specialist. And I have to mention Paul Miller, because he was one of those specialists and he was amazing. He's an autism guru. But anyway, we could call them, or families could call them, and he would consult over the phone, or he'd even make home visits. And if a family was working on something that they couldn't, like we couldn't accomplish, like potty training or whatever, Paul would come out, assess the situation, and then create a home program for the family. So that was beyond amazing as well. The autism division also used to do screenings and testing for autism as well. And I'm so glad, like I said, people spoke up about this earlier too. Additional supports, more money, a raise on our current reimbursement rate in order to be competitive. So as a small business owner, I have 40 people. I'm trying to compete with agencies and, things such as the school district. So it's very difficult when their starting salary is almost $7,000 more than what we can provide. And also as a small business, my benefits don't look like the school districts. I do offer health insurance because I'm trying to get the best qualified people and people that are committed. So I provide health insurance, dental, vision, life. I offer the simple IRA with a 3% match. All of these things in order to try on that retention and recruitment bit. Thank you. That is, right now it's, additional money for sign-on bonuses. That would be great. It's just, recruitment and retention, we are being affected just like everyone else in the country right now with this recruitment and retention issue. Last year, I think we lost 7 people. It's been terrible. Another, example of this is in the Low Country. BabyNet has been begging us to take children because there are no EI providers in the Low Country accepting referrals right now. So those kids are sitting. It's because we can't get people hired. People aren't staying, and we're trying to train them. Our training process is at least 3 to 6 months process. This is a very involved job. There's a ton of paperwork. We're contracted with the government. It takes a lot to train someone, especially, if you want them to be that quality of provider that I feel like our families deserve.
Quick question.
Sure.
What does your contract look like if you were offering me a job? When it comes down to, because you're dealing with sustainability.
Yes, sir.
Because you're putting out a lot of money, right? So what type of contract would I be signing? When I sign with you, okay?
Yes.
That will cause me to have to stay with you so that you can get your money worth back out. How does your contract look?
Right. I have people sign, I don't know if I can.
So you're saying, how does she entice? How does she keep?
In other words,
She didn't want to tell us that.
She don't want to tell us that in public, I don't think.
Yeah.
no,
You can talk to
I'm
her.
not, only thing I'm talking about is your contract wherein if I'm going to be employed by you, there's enough in there that causes me to want to stay and enough in there that causes you to want to hire me. Let's just put it from that perspective.
Well, they have to be qualified and
would you say you said have a bachelor's degree, 1 year
Yeah.
experience working with children?
Yeah.
Yeah, but
And then
you also-
they get their credential while on the job.
but you still want me to stay with you a certain length of time, period.
Yes, I do.
You don't have to answer it. That's just something to think about.
Right. I provide as many benefits as I can. I'm constantly trying to enhance that. Yes, it's just, I mean, it's been really difficult, in our industry. I mean, and I hate to come down the school district because I like the school district. But I mean, there've been dangling carrots in people's
Well, they
face,
can
and when
be-
they can offer more money, it's a big deal.
Okay, but Mike, I wasn't going down that rabbit hole.
Okay, I'm sorry. Okay.
I'll talk.
That's okay.
But
Okay.
it's a good point. You have competition competing for
Yeah.
your employees, and your rates and your benefits are not competitive.
Right.
Right, and we hear that on so many levels within the DDS system, whether it's DSPs or nurses, or, I mean, our rates have to be high.
How much
Right, and I
business
know,
hours
and you
is that?
talked about like trying to get providers, even of residential, which I don't know what that looks like. But, I mean, yeah, so I think that raising the rates all around is
Yeah. How
nice.
has it been since your rates have been changed?
Yes, they went up in last July, a
What is
little,
the rate?
a little bit. Now it's 24.19, I think, per
Okay.
unit,
And that's per hour?
per unit, 15 minutes.
May I ask a question?
Yes.
I'm curious, would you be like a competitor of the Meyer Center?
Not a competitor. We would refer children to the Meyer Center, so they could get our service and go to the Meyer Center.
Okay, all right.
They're not a school, early intervention is just in-home, yeah, support, which of course, Meyer Center is a school that provides support, and
Right.
therapies, but
So it's more of
They're
so
different.
that's an in-house service instead of a come to your house service.
right, She
Which
goes-
I've lived through both of them.
Yeah.
I'm just curious,
No, you're
because I
good.
get invited to their fundraisers and it's like, oh my,
All right.
our money.
What we
machine.
need to, the key to what she's saying here today is that she is a private provider.
Yes.
Yes.
That's the kind of people that want more people to serve,
Yes,
because they have profit as a motive.
yes.
And so what we need to consider is some sort of grants to help people that are private providers to keep going and encourage them to start. That's what you need,
right.
grants, not additional money all the time, but grants so that they can get started and they can try and they can do.
Now, Barry's not saying that you do this just to make money, just to make a huge profit.
No.
He's just saying that
Yeah.
people that open businesses or
Yes.
private business owners are trying to, make a living,
Make more money
Right,
to be able
and
to
create-
survive and to be able to, so that you can buy something nice for yourself because you deserve it. And we don't want socialism, and that's what we don't want to have. So, and I applaud you for your efforts and your work and for giving people, employees incentives and all that. But the point is, we need more people like her in Charleston and other places
Yes,
to be able to
sir.
serve people, because we have to have people that want more people on their roles as opposed to just the number they have now and survive like they are now. We want them to be able to encourage more people to come on.
And I'd love to be in Charleston. I mean, that is my goal for my fourth office, but I can't go because I'm over here spinning. I'm in the hamster cage trying to run Greenville, Spartanburg, and Anderson because I can't, I've just been interviewing for the last 2 years.
Commissioner, thank you so much for presenting
Oh,
us today.
absolutely.
Is there anything else?
Oh, I'm so sorry. Yes, one more thing, and then I was gonna have, yes, okay. And this might sound strange, but increased accountability for providers. I think this would be extremely helpful in enhancing EI services throughout the state. What could that look like possibly? Maybe creating an accountability committee or something within DDSN. And also maybe a more formal comment system. I don't want to say complaints, but it'd be nice for us to have so that we're all providing the same quality of services. we get transfers from other agencies, other EI companies, and we note things that are not being done in compliance with the contract, and in compliance with other policies and procedures. And unfortunately, I'm not sure what is done with that.
Okay. All right.
And I'd love to be a part of that too, if you need volunteers.
Okay.
And Tammy, you want to come up?
If you can, just kind of keep it brief, because we've got one more presentation and we gotta get to the Witten Center today too. Yeah, we're running a little behind. That's okay.
Hi, my name's Tammy Finch, and I got in with a Head Start through BabyNet. My grandson he lives with me, and he was diagnosed at 2 with autism, a sensory disorder. And so we've been with with a Head Start since he got in, and when they first started, he was not talking. He was just pointing and mumbling words that you couldn't understand. And since then, they have helped us get speech therapy, occupational therapy, early intervention therapy. Anna Judy is his early intervention therapist. She is amazing, and she helps me any way that she can. So when they got him into the 3K program with District 6 Child Development Center, and they moved out of the in-home occupational therapy because he was having trouble with the in-home, not being able to mimic the school and him acting out in school. So we went out to the outside, and she helped me get all of those services, behavioral therapy and occupational therapy. They've helped me with getting respite, so I get a break because I am total caregiver, never get a break. So they've helped me get that. They've just recently got him into the summer program to help him with summer camp and stuff like that. And I honestly do not know what I would have done, because I'm 55 years old and did not think I'd be raising a 3-year-old again. But when he got diagnosed with autism, I was just overwhelmed, because I was like, what do you do? Because I had no clue whatsoever. And I'm like, how am I going to get him the help? And thank God God said that we found a Head Start, because no matter what I have, I can ask Anna Judy, and if she don't know the answer, she gets it for me. And they do everything they can to get me every bit of help that I can for Miles. And they are there for the kids, no matter what. I can call Anna up and say, or text her and say, hey, I'm having this problem. What do we need to do? And she gets me in with the play dates and keeps me on top of everything so he can get out and meet other kids his age. And so he's went from not speaking and pointing to stuff that he's talking now, carries on conversations. He doesn't do well with transitioning to other things and doing stuff like that. And just yesterday, his therapy for occupational therapy, she wasn't able to be there. And they said, well, we have one that's got an opening there. Do you want to try her? And I was like, well, we could try, but I don't know how well that's going to go. But he had an amazing time with her. He transitioned in with her. And I was just in tears when she came out, and she's like, he just did so good. And he got a prize and everything. And to see him go from not being able to transition and not being able to speak, to being able to carry on a conversation, going to school, and being a participant with things is amazing. And that's all because of Head Start. And they're godsend. I really do not know what I've done if I hadn't found them. They are awesome. And thanks to y'all for supporting them, because I know there are more parents out there like me that is just, or grandparents that's taking on a 3-year-old, and you find out he's autistic, and you're just, oh God, what do I do? You know, because it's just overwhelming, everything that goes on with them. It's just unending. So thank y'all for your time, and thank y'all for supporting them, because like I said, I don't know what I've done without them.
Thank you so
Thank you.
much
Thank
for
you very
being here
much.
today. We
Really
appreciate
appreciate
the Head Start for addressing us today. And now let's move on to DDSM's post-secondary transition program. And Commissioners, if you will hold your questions to the end, write them down. That way we don't interrupt.
Good morning. Thanks for letting me speak. I know you guys are on a schedule today, and I just ask that you buckle up. I talk fast. My name's Erica Wakefield. I'm the Director of Post-Secondary Transition at DDSN, and I wanted to take this opportunity to talk a little bit about the efforts of our team. That team consists of me and Rhonda Mumford. I didn't know she was going to be here today. She's actually on vacation this week. Rhonda and I are both certified special education teachers in South Carolina, and we maintain our certification every 5-year cycle. This allows us to stay current on best practices regarding post-secondary transition planning for middle and high school students with significant and lifelong disabilities. When the department was created in 2014, the role of the coordinators was to introduce to school district personnel what DDSN is and the services we provide. At that time, most schools didn't know who we were and what our services were. As time went on, the department's role sort of morphed from just merely sharing information about DDSN to encouraging teachers to make sure their students were connected with our agency. That's what we needed, right? This effort allowed us to get closer to teachers and parents directly. We created a pathway to have more meaningful conversations with them. We went beyond just sharing information about DDSN to moving toward ensuring students were connected to our agency. Now that many school districts have become aware of DDSN and the importance of getting students connected, it's time for us to move on to the next phase. We're now focused on providing technical assistance to special education teachers and district transition personnel on best practices and developing appropriate post-secondary transition goals. More than anything, we want students to leave school with a plan for their future. For years, we've seen IEPs, and that stands for Individualized Education Plan, just in case you didn't know what that was, indicating that students would attend an adult day program. Students aren't the ones saying, I want to attend adult day program. It's the teachers or parents that are making that choice for that student. Teachers must assess a student's preferences, interests, strengths, and needs, and use that data to develop post-secondary transition goals. When students help create their post-secondary plan, then DDSN knows how to support him or her to implement their identified goals. With a well-developed plan, DDSN can help link students with resources to support them as they pursue their interests. So for some of those supported individuals, that may mean first receiving services through both rehab and then followed up with DDSN services. For others, it may be support from an employment program or a day program. And still for others, it might just be support from a case manager to get connected with services and supports. As an employment first state, we certainly encourage employment as the best option, although we know sometimes employment's not an option. But other options like continuing their education or opting to give back to their community by volunteering. In our role, we help teachers to understand the merit of all of these avenues. The Individuals in Disabilities Education Act, IDEA, requires that transition planning begins at age 16, but in South Carolina, it has to start at age 13. Another requirement is that outside agencies are to be involved in planning, and it's important for DDSN to be a part of that. The South Carolina Department of Education Office of Special Education, or OSIS, has partnered with us to assist in reconnecting with school districts across the state. Despite being hampered by COVID, our partnership with OSIS will help us gain traction in collaborating with teachers and providing necessary technical assistance. Our efforts will help us achieve the goal of reaching all middle and high school students who are DDSN eligible. Through this effort, we will equip teachers to develop meaningful post-school plans. One pathway to achieving post-school employment opportunities for DDSN eligible students is Project Search. Project Search is not a DDSN program. Rather, it's a partnership between schools, VR, and the National Project Search Organization. Rhonda Mumford has helped support this program by identifying those students not yet connected with our agency and then helping parents sort of navigate that application process. She also tracks the employment outcomes so that DDSN can provide state-funded follow-along services once they are successfully employed by the efforts of their VR counselor. Though Project Search results in meaningful outcomes for their interns, we want to promote similar post-school employment outcomes for every DDSN eligible student. This can be achieved by working hand in hand with teachers and VR counselors in schools to encourage employment opportunities for all students. I believe our partnership with OSIS, coupled with developing those relationships with school-based VR counselors, will help us reach more DDSN eligible students and ensure better employment outcomes. There's another aspect to my job, and it's unrelated to post-secondary transition. That's the high school VSP Credential program that was created under the previous state director, and I'd like to give you a brief update on that. The Credential was approved by the South Carolina Department of Ed as their career and technical education offering in the health science strand. We started with 2 pilot sites, which combine this program with their CNA classes. The first pilot site was Daniel Morgan Technology Center in Spartanburg, coupled with our friends at Charles Lee, and Floyd D. Johnson Technology Center in York, partnered with Disabilities. The program consists of classroom instruction, 10 hours of practicum time at the provider site, culminating in a final exam. In order to earn their credential, the students must pass the 50-question final exam with an 80% or better and complete all 10 hours of their practicum time. For the past 2 years, the program was considered a pilot, which gave us the opportunity to kind of tweak things and improve it. I'm happy to report that this year, 12 students have earned their credential. I'm unable to report on any employment outcomes because school just ended and these kiddos are headed off to college in the fall. But I can report that from the cohort in York, 3 students are very interested in working with DSPs with providers near their colleges. And 1 student is actually going through orientation this month with Disabilities. Prior to this year's cohort, 2 students have gone to work as DSPs at local providers while they're attending colleges, but I don't know exactly which providers they went to work for. From the cohort in Spartanburg, 4 students have expressed an interest in pursuing employment as a DSP while in college. Prior to this year's cohort, 1 student has gone to work for Charles Lee. Currently, we have 2 additional school districts that have expressed interest in adding this program to their offerings. Aiken County Schools, who would partner with Tri-Development Center, and Clover School District, who will partner with Disabilities. Thank you for letting me present information about post-secondary transition. You can undo your seatbelts now and ask any questions that you might have.
How many students do you think we are serving currently in South Carolina? Do this.
Through what?
Through post-secondary. I mean, how many students are involved with this process?
So that is a question that I cannot answer. We've had an extraordinarily difficult time getting back in with schools. Schools were shut down for the pandemic, even in this last year when they were starting to open up again.
Right.
So for me to answer that question, how many kids are still in high school that we're actively making sure they're connected with DDSN, I can look into that and get that number for you. We do know that there's a significant number of students that are not connected to our agency.
Yeah.
That need to be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know, having a child that was in the public school system, we got services because I knew about it,
Right.
because I knew about it.
Right.
Not, the school never, our child's school never mentioned this to her.
Right.
She's in a wheelchair.
Right.
You'd think they would have offered some kind of services, they offered none.
Yeah.
And then when she was ready to graduate, she had no plan. There was no one had done any planning with her. I mean, obviously I knew where she was going and she knew where she was going.
Right.
But no one did any of that with her from DDSN. So then I just happened to hear a presentation in one of our meetings about voc rehab.
Mm-hmm.
And so I spent probably 3 months trying to get her some services through through voc rehab up at Clemson. And voc rehab has done nothing for her. I mean, they send her a letter every year saying, what can we do for you? When she tells them, they say, oh, no, we can't do that. And so I'm wondering, how has your working relationship with Voc Rehab been? Have we struggled there? Is that something we as a commission need to get involved with? And do we need to intervene and go over and have a conversation with their either executive director or their board? Or how is that relationship?
So I can tell you that there's been lots of changes within Voc Rehab, which has made it very difficult. But this year, I feel like things are getting a lot better. We've got some new leadership within Voc Rehab that's focused on post-secondary transition planning at the high school level.
Mhm.
And we, of course, had lots of schools that were missing vocational rehab counselors to work with students. We're getting those they're getting those positions filled. And I anticipate, especially working with OSIS, Office of Special Ed, I'm anticipating that next year is going to be significantly better.
Okay.
Gaining traction this year was a little challenging. I'm a newbie, you
Sure.
know, I just joined the agency last year, and
Okay.
who am I?
Yeah.
People in York County know who I am, you know, but then no one else around the state. So I think this next year, we're gonna have
Some programs. Okay.
some
That's
better
good.
results.
What do these children that miss this? I mean, I know mine. I don't know if yours had the same
Yeah,
experience.
We're from Clover
Mhm,
and
yeah.
they do have
Some.
a person from Voc Rehab there. I mean,
Really?
we got in the program.
Yeah.
We don't get anything,
Yeah,
but,
Yeah.
I mean,
I
they
mean,
sent us the same.
the same letter. I mean,
Yeah.
right. So, I just wonder what these kids that have moved on that didn't have this help, what can they do now? Where do they go for help?
So we talk to parents all the time. Parents call us and they ask us, what do we do now? And even though, I mean, we're post-secondary transition, we deal with kiddos to 21, 22. We will answer those questions. We will tell them where to go, who to talk to, and give them some names that they can talk to get that information.
Okay.
It's really about us getting our information out there the very best that we can. Rhonda and I divide the state of South Carolina, which I did not realize was as big as it is until I was in this role and went, let's divide the state. Wow, that's a lot of schools.
It is.
There are 80 public there are 80 public school districts. I think with OSIS helping us get in with every one of those directors, special ed directors, that's going to help a lot.
Great. Commissioners, do you have any other questions? Anybody? Michelle? Well, thank you so much, and we appreciate it. If you could kind of get us a general number.
Sure.
How many years,
Absolutely.
and maybe put that in our weekly update, our monthly, or commissioners update, just so we know kind of how many we're serving here and what our goals are going forward as far as service numbers. Okay?
Absolutely.
Thank
I'll do
you,
it. Thank you.
appreciate it. All right, we're gonna move on to commission business now. Commissioner Blackwood on the nominating committee.
Okay, so last month in the last commission meeting, I mentioned that our nominating committee met on May 9th, and I introduced the slate last commission meeting, and today we just need to vote on that slate of individuals that we have lined up for the executive positions within our commission, so the officers. Those were the chair position, Stephanie Rollinson, the vice chair position, Barry Malchus, and secretary position is myself, Robin Blackwood. So we just need a full vote on this.
So it's a motion, a second coming out of committee. Okay.
Yes.
Chair, committee members, you hear this, this slate. All in favor, please signify by saying aye. All opposed? Hearing none, the motion carries, and that will be our slate of officers. The place, while we're in this position now, these positions will actually go into place at our next meeting.
Right, for 1 year.
Yes, for 1 year term. And it will be 1 year. Clarifying that law again, 1 more year.
Technically, at the end of June, it starts again.
That's right. So y'all prepare yourselves for next year. Somebody's stepping in. Let me thank y'all for nominating me again, and I will do my very best. And I'm going to depend on each of you to carry your roles and to carry your committees, because I cannot do this by myself, as you well know. I will we're gonna talk about the committees over the next month, the committees within the organization. And I'd like for each of my chairmen to get with me, talk to me about whether they want to stay on as chairman or whether they want to be adjusted. If you are a commissioner, please let me know what I can't get this out today. What committees you want to serve on, because we want to get you on committees that you feel comfortable really digging in, because we got a lot of work that needs to be done. And everybody needs to help me a little bit. Okay. All right. So let's move on to the finance committee report.
Okay, I just have a brief item to share. It's nothing to vote on. We had our Finance and Audit Committee meeting earlier this month, and or the end of I think it was the May meeting. And we reviewed a solicitation, a new non-service contract during that meeting, which is for supplemental licensed nursing personnel. The item is a routine item in just adding the contract period that was established as a year contract with four renewals. And so we approved that as a committee, and it's just informational only for today's meeting. Behind tab 5, you can see the details of this new non-service contract that the agency shared with us in our last committee meeting. So that's the only item that I have for today.
All right, so no motion needed on tab 5. All right, that's all of your information?
Yep.
When's your next meeting, Robin, do you know?
It is July the 6th,
Okay, July 6th, you know the time?
3 p.m.
3 p.m. and that is broadcast, so if anybody has questions, they can tune
Yes.
in. All right, I'm gonna turn it over now to Vice Chairman Barry Malphus, and Chairman of the Policy Committee.
Thank you, ma'am. I'll be as brief as possible. I have several to do, but I'll promise I'll go as fast as I can. The first item on the agenda is on our policy committee is 10401DD, which is certification and licensure of the DDS residential and day facilities. And primarily it is to provide the guidance for to clarify licensure and residential and day facilities, residential and day program facilities. And that has been out for public comment, and there was no comment received. And so we are asking, it comes as a motion and second out of committee to ask for that policy to be approved as is written now.
Okay, motion is second, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Nays, hearing none, motion carries. 10401DD is approved.
Next is 10403DD, which is the DDS contract for compliance and quality assurance. And it is to establish the guidelines for the contract between DDSN and the providers to conduct quality assurance reviews, which is a very important thing because it actually affects the people we serve directly. And we went over that policy, and the directive was reviewed for 10 days, and there were several comments. Some we took under advisement, and some, and one I think that we implemented. And that comes out of committee as a motion and second to be approved as is written.
All right, committee members, that is a motion and a second. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, hearing none, 10403DD is approved.
Next item is 27501DD, which is missing property reporting, which is just what it says. It's relates to missing property that belongs to the DSN. And that was a directive that was also reviewed by the policy committee and posted on the website. No comments were received, and we are asking this one also to be approved as written as a motion and second come out of committee.
Motion and second, this motion is 27501DD. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries, it is approved.
Thank you. The next one is one that the policy committee did some work on, which is 53502DD, which is the Human Rights Committee. And the Human Rights Committee is simply to make sure that the human rights of those that we serve is being recognized through the Autism Division and through the boards and through the contract service providers. and it's really the guidance and the authority and the role, the responsibility of those committees. And so if you're interested in one of those committees, you should look at it. We did increase the amount of time somebody can serve without being rotated off those committees, because we really don't believe in much in forcing people off of committees they're interested in. So we did increase that some, and we're asking, we did have one comment received and it was taken under advisement, but, we're presenting this to the commission for approval as is written now.
All right, so we have a motion and a second coming out of committee on this, policy. It's policy 53502DD. All in favor, please signify by saying aye. All opposed, hearing none, this motion carries. Next.
Next item is the employee health requirements, 60302DD. And it's to determine the employee's ability to perform the essential job duties and to help assess special accommodations that are appropriate for as those are required. And the directive was received by the policy committee, and we actually removed a sentence to fix this policy to be more to be better, and that's what we did with this one. So we would ask that the policy committee did with this one, so we would ask that we would approve that for coming to the vote in the second out of committee.
If you don't mind telling me do you know which sentence it was that was changed?
Yeah, it's it's on the first page, and it just talks about the fact that you don't have to, that you don't necessarily have to be able to lift 10 pounds to be able to be on.
Very good, I appreciate that. I think that was, we were concerned about nursing staff and that kind of thing. And we want to make sure that this disabled community can serve within the DBSM system. All right, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Hearing none, the motion carries.
The last item on the agenda is was actually referred to staff, which is, but I'm going to take it because we did make a change in the policy committee. It's 36711DD, and it relates to our telephone policy, which is an inner policy, so it will not need to be for public comment. We obviously do public comment as a service, but we don't even need to do it in this case. We're not required to do that, as everybody knows. I hope many people have heard me say that many times. But the one that's in charge of this policy is our chief information officer. And since we don't have one right now, we're going to ask this as approved as it is, because we did make one change to where if somebody violates this policy, they will be required to pay back the actual charges of the additional phone charges. If there is any, not that they may be able to pay it back, or they will have to pay it back. And so we'd like to have that approved as it is, so that continues right now. And then at a later time, we will get with the chief information officer and bring this back to our committee to make some other slight changes to make it more modernized with the advent of phone technology and that kind of thing. So we just want to make it, the change has been made in your packets, so we just want to,
Okay.
it's a motion and second out of committee.
All right, motion and second on the telephone committee. The only change is on the first page. May has been changed to will have to pay back. Is there any questions on this policy? All right, all in favor of approving the policy with that one change, please signify by saying aye. All opposed? Hearing none, the motion carries. Okay, Barry, any updates?
Thank you, ma'am. The only other thing to say is that Lori is going to present for our committee updates. And I appreciate the support of the commission relating to all these policies that we're working.
Sure, so we have 4 directives that should be going out for public comment in the next little bit. The 56704, 60005 are both related to crisis prevention curriculums and behavior support, restraints, that kind of thing. And then there are 2 policies, one eligibility determination, the other appeal or reconsideration, that were updated based on the recent regulations that were drafted so that they're consistent with what's in the regulation. Basically what we did was we pulled out anything that used to be in a directive that's now in a regulation, because there's no reason for us to rewrite it, right? Or have something that's different. The other thing is we have one other directive. Hopefully those policies will come to you in the July commission meeting, right? They've been through policy committee, they're out for public comment. You can hear them in July. We have one more that's assigned to staff, 212, which is management of funds that we may have ready for July as well, because it'll go directly for public comment, but.
Okay.
That's it.
You're good. And your next meeting is? You know the date, huh?
It is, July, is it 12th? What do you think?
I think it's the 12th, I'll look really.
The 12th, yes, it's July 12th, and it will be, we are going to try to, even though I said in the policy committee it would be 3 o'clock, we're going to try to make that, we're working on trying to make that 10 o'clock in the morning as opposed to 3.
Okay. All right, well.
And we'll update everybody as the emails go out and that sort of thing, just keep an eye on them, but just don't get used to it being 10 o'clock because it won't be very often.
All right, Courtney Crosby, we're moving on to old business. Courtney Crosby, internal audit update.
Madam Chair,
Yes, sir.
what point we doing the legislative?
One more, she, and then,
Oh, okay.
then employment, and then we're adding legislative right now.
Okay, gotcha.
Great. Thanks. I'll start with an update on our agreed upon procedures report. So we've completed the review of 34 of the 40 reports for our DSM boards, with 6 in process. The review's complete for 7 of the private providers with June 30 year ends, with 2 in process. 3 of our private providers have a September 30 year end. We've completed the review for 2 of those agreed upon procedures reports and have not received the 3rd report. So the reports for the 32 private providers with December 31 year ends were due on April 30th. We've received 31 of the 32. The review's complete for 23 with 8 in process. And our contract reductions are currently at $42,500. So that includes late audit reports, late agreed upon procedures reports, and late corrective action plans. So during our Finance and Audit Committee meeting earlier this month, we highlighted some of the internal audit division's professional development activities. So we had the opportunity to present at a general DDSN orientation that was held in the central office on May 25th. We also presented at the Human Services Providers Association Finance Directors Annual Conference, that's a mouthful, on June 8th. I also recently returned from an enterprise risk management conference that was put on by the NC State ERM Institute. And all of the auditors in our division are completing engagement planning, continuing education that's offered by the Institute of Internal Auditors. So I've received positive feedback from our internal audit team and just wanted to express our appreciation for these professional development opportunities. So I also wanted to provide an update for you on our audit plan. So for our current fiscal year, we recently finalized a technical assistance visits. We call these TAVs. And that involved the review of financial records for an individual served by a DSM board. The results of those procedures were shared with agency management in a letter dated May 26th. So we're also continuing to complete field work on our open audits and TAVs, as well as our follow-up procedures. So the end of the quarter is fast approaching, so we'll update the audit observation tracking report for you and provide that to you prior to the July meetings of the Finance and Audit Committee and the full commission. So I'm also continuing to work on our fiscal year 23 audit plan. So if you've not already returned your fiscal year 23 audit planning survey, please be sure to do so. So the information that we receive as a result of those surveys will be considered in our audit plan development. And if you do prefer to discuss your responses rather than send that by email, I'm happy to schedule calls or meetings with you to talk about that survey. So may I answer any questions for you?
Commissioners? I think we're good. Who hasn't turned in their suggestions for?
Everybody.
Y'all haven't really?
I
I
have.
turned mine in.
I know you
Be a
did.
barrier on our, y'all better
Okay,
get to
good.
work now, but get after y'all. Better fill out this
Yeah,
one.
that is very important, and that is something I'm thankful that this that Courtney would ask us to do, because I'm not sure that would have ever been asked of us to do before Courtney took
Very-
over.
very
I suspect
well
it would never have, and as far as I know, it never has been before that.
Well, please do that. Please take time to look at and fill them out. I'm gonna check, and if you hadn't turned them in, I'm gonna call you. So unless you wanna get a call from Stephanie, you better fill them out.
Thank you.
Okay,
Thank you very much.
all right. Next is Miss Liz. Liz Lemon is gonna talk with us about employment. And Liz, I just wanna thank you for the notes you provided to us. That was wonderfully done. Very
Okay,
well
thank you
done.
very much.
Good information. And if commissioners, if you need to look at it, it's a part of the notes that are on your table. It's got a blue, it's on the second page of the list.
Yes,
Yes.
provided charts as well.
Yes, very good.
It is very nice. Good job.
Good, very good. Well, good. It's almost, well, it's actually afternoon now, so good afternoon. It's a pleasure to see you today. As you know, we are in a nationwide crisis regarding recruitment and retention. Human Resources has experienced 3 primary challenges with regards to recruitment and retention efforts for DDSN. Those being low unemployment, high turnover, and a competitive hiring environment. Given these challenges, we have continued to track hiring trends within the regional centers with regards to direct support personnel. According to the chart that was provided, when we look at January to May 2021, we experienced a net loss of 111 DSP positions as compared to January to May 2022. We had a net loss of 9 DSP positions. In addition, we have reduced the time to process new hires by 57%. This is attributed to rapid hiring events and expediting the hiring process within the regional centers. We have created flexibility with hiring dates and found alternative screening opportunities that have reduced processing time. According to the chart, we observed that our retention rate has improved. In May 2021, we lost 68 employees compared to the 25 lost in May 2022. Any questions about the chart?
Any questions? Good information, Liz.
All right,
Thank you.
thank you. For the month of June, we are anticipating hiring 104 DSPs within the regional offices. Coastal Center is 42, Midland Center 16, DD Salidi 15, and Witten Center 31. So we do continue to hire. We're pushing hiring processes. We do see us slowly climbing out of this.
Where are we finding these new recruits? Are they just coming in and applying, or are they coming in off of our ads? How are we finding?
Well, we're actually, we post positions on Indeed.
Okay.
We're doing rapid hiring events,
Okay.
posting on Twitter, Facebook. So just every different
Everything we
avenue.
can try. Okay.
Everything we can try, basically.
Okay.
In addition, we're actively recruiting and filling central office vacancies, and you have your list there. I won't read through them, but we have 10 postings to include 2 BCBA positions. We recently closed 8 positions in central office, and we have filled 2 contact project positions and 2 investigative coordinator positions for risk management. We've been very busy, I have to say. Over the last year, we've tried different recruitment initiatives. This is to kind of answer your question as well, by working with different social media outlets. The regional centers have conducted rapid hiring events and attended career fairs in colleges. We are working on branding DDSN from an HR standpoint through a collaboration with Public Information Director PJ Perea. So he's been a blessing to DDSN. Also, the Department of Admin posts our state positions on Twitter, Facebook, and LinkedIn. We're actively using LinkedIn as well. As I mentioned, Indeed has actually been a savior for us. We utilize them at the regional centers and at central office. Indeed is very popular in the employment. Okay. As I mentioned, we're conducting rapid hiring events. They slowed down a little bit last year, definitely through COVID, but we're ramping them back up. Midland Center has a rapid hiring event scheduled in July, and PJ's working with us on promoting that as well.
Okay.
We continue to attend career fairs within the regional centers. They collaborate as well with technical centers, colleges.
The Weekend Warrior Program has been successful. That's filled in a lot of our gaps. We continue to utilize job referral reward programs for DSPs, and as well as retention bonus for the DSPs. We continue to utilize the nursing recruitment and retention bonus, which is $3,000. Upon hire, nurses receive $1,000 and then $2,000 retention 6 and 12 months later. This March 2022, we increased the nursing rates for LPN at $48,000, RN to $62,000, and nurse managers at $68,000. As I mentioned, we have been collaborating with PJ to increase visibility through social media. We have a new Instagram page. We continue to post on Facebook and utilizing LinkedIn as well. We're working with him on visibility through in-person events. We attended the Fireflies baseball game in May and are working on other community-based initiatives designed to promote DDSN. And as you mentioned, the 23rd annual Defend Legacy Parade. So our goal is to continue to work out there on grassroots efforts in community. I think by promoting DDSN and the great things that we do also help with recruitment and retention.
One thing I want to mention, and I don't know if y'all, if the regional centers or anybody has thought about this, but we have those nursing programs at the colleges, like in Columbia, and I know at Francis Marion.
Right.
While those girls are in nursing programs, they could be DSPs. So that might be something we want to look into. Even in Charleston, I know, MUSC has nurses that go to school during the day, but at night they're looking for something to do. So DSP might be an option for that, to contact those groups as well.
Okay.
There was just a thought that.
Yeah, no, we're
went through my
always-
head, because I used to play CNAs.
Okay.
So that's why I thought of it. So
Okay,
just-
yeah, we're always open to any ideas.
Okay.
I know that Coastal utilizes ECPI. They're
Yeah.
very helpful there at
Yes.
Coastal Center.
Very much. Okay.
All right, so our new retention effort which was a great idea, we're pushing for performance evaluations, performance pay, merit pay increases. That's, again, to help with our retention efforts. That's in the central office and out in the regional center. So we'll be working with the facility administrators and HR out in the regional centers to take on that effort. We have submitted a career path program for increasing hiring rates for the DSP professionals 1 and 2, 1 through 3, and direct support managers. We're looking at reclassification of day support programs into classifications that better fit those job descriptions as well.
Okay.
We project that this plan will be approved July 2nd by state HR. So this plan will address not only recruitment, but also retention, and it's designed to address the staffing needs and coverage gaps at the regional centers. It's a very intricate plan. I have to give credit to my HR staff, especially Jackie O'Kane. She is a numbers guru and thinks very analytically. And so we really sat down and took our concerns from the regional centers into consideration regarding coverage. And the plan is extensive, that we really anticipate that it will help a lot, not only in the pay increases, but also coverage issues.
Good. All right.
All right, onboarding redesign. We have evaluated our current onboarding program within the central office. We're planning to implement an inclusive onboarding, onboarding program. We're doing the following. We're going to assign ambassadors with whom new staff will be scheduled to meet during the quarter. This extends onboarding from a first day experience to continued distribution of content and interactions for the first 3 months. It also ensures that each new staff member has an understanding for the various divisions, within the various divisions of DDSN, and helps foster cross-functional collaboration amongst teams. The ambassadors will have a 6-month term. The program will be fully completed within 12 weeks. The new hires will meet with the ambassadors approximately every other week in a 12-week period, and it can be adjusted to accommodate schedules. Executive team members will assign an ambassador and an alternate in their area for the 6-month period, and we'll expect them to start the first day of the calendar year and fiscal year. That's the new hires. We are also developing and updating a consistent PowerPoint of each department under the executive team or each executive team member for consistency and to provide additional information as new candidates come in. So they have a full understanding of the different areas within central office, and also out in the regional centers. We're also working with the IT department on an electronic onboarding process to include posting requests for hire, performance management process, and offboarding. So that will help with both onboarding aspect and offboarding and provide information to new hires in electronic format. So this is for posting positions and also our performance management process, our EPMS process. So we're looking to go electronic.
Okay,
Okay,
right. Questions, Commissioner? Are you done?
That's it. I'm
Okay.
done.
All right, questions, Commissioners?
What's the Weekend Warrior program?
So we hire temporary staff to work weekends only, basically. So that fills in the gaps during the weekends where staff can, take some time.
Yeah, we voted to approve that, and they paid a little bit
A little
more.
bit more, yes, it is.
It was like, I guess, earlier last year we did that.
Mhm, mhm. And we continue to see hires through that program. We provide training as needed when they first start.
I was just wondering, how many years have you been with DDSN, and is this the position you started with?
I've been with DDSN, it will be 6 years August. It's not the first position I started in. When we had 2 districts, I was hired as a district HR director, and I oversaw Midland Center and Winton Center. And then when the HR director moved to another state agency, I was hired as the HR director.
Thank you.
So I do have experience working out in the regional centers, hands-on, which has been very beneficial for this position.
I imagine
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate you presenting today. In the 3 years that I've been a commissioner, I've never had an HR overview like that, and I really appreciate it.
Very
Oh,
good.
thank you.
Yeah, very well done.
Anytime,
It helps.
present anything.
And how often would you commissioners like to get something like this? Just out of curiosity, what do you all,
I would say quarterly.
Quarterly, I would think.
would that work for
That's
you,
fine.
Liz?
Yeah, and if you have specific topics you would like for me to cover,
Yeah, there's something
Certainly do
specific,
that.
we'll call you in, but this really helps us to
Okay,
be able
good.
to understand where our numbers are and, that kind of thing. So,
Okay, very
very
good.
good.
Thank
Thank you so
you.
much, Liz. Appreciate it. All right,
Legislative
uh,
edition.
oh, yes, we have an update from legislative. Is she on the phone or are you gonna do it?
I can give it and she can chime in if
Okay.
necessary.
Okay,
The session is pretty much at an end. On May the 24th, the Legislative Joint Bond Review Committee, that's the joint committee of the House and the Senate Fiscal Leadership.
Mhm.
Well, look like sensory garden at Witten. Phase 2 has been approved. And you can now move forward with the bidding process for that. So that's a good thing. And they can start that within the coming weeks. The Senate and House leadership continue to meet and hammer out compromise on the budget. Virtually all of DDSN requested priorities were funded in the final compromise. Okay. In addition, 1.5 million that the House placed in the budget for crisis youth residential habilitation was agreed to by the conference committee.
Okay.
Budget was approved by both houses yesterday. I was up on the Hill yesterday.
Okay.
And sent to the governor for his consideration.
Okay.
Any vetoes will be taken up when the bodies come back to take up the vote, the vetoes. It is also worth noting that state employees were given a 3% pay raise, and they agreed to also fund a $1,500 per employee bonus for state employees. We know that DDSN workforce would be happy for that increase.
Yes.
Pretty much that sums it up. Unless Ms. Stewart have anything else to add, subtract, multiply, or divide.
Is it gonna be adjustable by inflation since 3% is not really gonna go very far these days?
I don't think it is.
I don't think so.
I wouldn't make that bet.
I wouldn't take that, but I think 3% is what they did for inflation.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, question for you, Ed, or for Carol. Do we anticipate the governor signing off on all of this and stuff? Is there any reason to think he would not?
Carol, are you there?
Can y'all hear me?
Okay, yeah.
Oh, good. Okay. Yeah, the veto session, after the governor takes up the budget, any vetoes he has, they'll come back June 28th to take up those vetoes. So I did get an email last night from the governor's office asking me not about the budget that was submitted originally, but about the 1.5 million and how important that was to DDSN. And I responded that my understanding was it's very important, and I sent him some information that Dr. Fry had provided previously to the legislature when they were considering that money for the crisis youth rehabilitation, residential habilitation centers. So hopefully I will have Dr. Fry, since I can't lobby, follow up with them next week before they consider their vetoes. There were also a few pass-through earmarks that were not requested by DDSN, nor does DDSN benefit from any of them directly. I think there was a little bit of money for a Best Buddies program for Special Olympics and a couple of other programs. So I know the governor will be looking into those pass-through earmarks as well. So we'll keep you posted, but by June 28th, we should have a solid commitment for what it is that we have as an agency for next year.
We appreciate that, Carol. And anything that happens that we need our help with.
Absolutely. I know, and anything that we need help with, I'll be sure to let y'all know.
So it's to say that the legislature's not June 28th, right?
They'll come back June 28th to take up the governor's vetoes. Anything he vetoes in the budget will come up.
That's the only thing they'll do on June 28th.
Anything he's vetoed. Yeah, there were a couple of conference committee reports on bills that didn't have anything to do with us that will go to his desk as well. So anything that June 28th is specifically for vetoes.
Thank you.
Commissioner Miller?
Yes, for the record, the Fallon group is doing an excellent job,
Ellen?
and we appreciate that.
Yes, we do have talent.
Well, thank you. Thank you. I look forward to our strategy session too, when y'all plan for that.
We're working on getting all the information together for that as we go. We
Great.
are.
Okay. Thank you.
Also encouraging anyone out there who are providers who have things that they know we need to address with the legislature, that us and ask so that we can put it in our plan going forward. If the providers have an issue, family members have an issue that they need addressed.
Okay.
What to do. All right. Thank you so much for doing that. We appreciate it. Now let's move to some new business. We need a financial update from Mrs. Rumbaugh.
Good afternoon.
Excuse me, I have no choice but to exit for a few moments.
All right. Do we want to take a point of, can you give us about a 5-minute?
That would be wonderful.
Let's take a
Yes,
5-minute
please.
point of comfort if y'all don't mind,
Thank you.
please. Call us back into order after a point of comfort. Okay, let's talk with Ms. Brumbaugh about our financial update.
Good afternoon. This will be a quick update on the spending plan, and I left my reading glasses on.
Look.
It's okay. We got it written in front of us.
Just reading glasses.
No, thank you.
Very good.
I was gonna give you mine, but it's gonna cost you.
All right, as of the end of May 31st, with our spending plan of $851.1 million, we've at total expenditures of 730.9 million. This is under tab 12.
Yeah.
Okay, the 730.9 consists of the wash that happens at HHS, 151 million, and the cash expenditures at DDSN at 579.6 million. We're currently 5.79% under budget at this point in time.
Did you say 5.7?
Let's take I-26 east.
Commissioner, you trying to get off?
5.79% under.
Sorry.
Yeah, I thought that about, I read the thing to be different than that, but I can't read properly on my glasses, it's going bad.
Thank
Okay,
you.
go ahead.
Okay. Typically, I think we try to approve this, so,
Okay.
this
Yeah,
budget, so
All right.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
Motion and second on the floor. All in favor, please signify by saying aye. All opposed? Ayes have it, that is approved.
Anything else, Nancy? Was there?
Is there anything else that we
No,
need?
No, okay, just sitting there.
Okay, thank y'all.
Thank you, Nancy. All right.
We appreciate your being our interim person.
That's right. We do appreciate you filling in for us.
Oh, you're welcome.
Thank you very much. Harley is going to fill in for Dr. Fry today. Dr. Fry, we're very excited. She's representing South Carolina at the National Association of DSN or Disability Providers. And she and all the other directors, executive directors, along with Constance, are at this conference in Washington DC. And she's presenting on, what was her topic? I'm trying to remember. It was cooperation with other agencies and how we work creatively to expand our cooperation with the other agencies. And as you all know, that's something that we all have really stressed, that we want that internal cooperation. And so I'm real proud of her for stepping to the plate and being willing to go.
If the chair would entertain one little thing,
Sure.
one of the great things legislatively that we could do is go to conferences. And I came up with lots of really good ideas for legislative things, and you got to see what was kind of on the cutting edge, what was happening in DC that might reference. And I'd like for you or whoever, whatever appropriate committee, to see what sort of conferences are available to commissioners to go. And that one commissioner, for instance, come back, give us a report.
Okay.
You know, sometimes they come back with whole notebooks of information that could be of help to us.
Yeah, I went to one in Washington, I think, and a human service provider.
Really?
Like right when I first started as commissioner. And it was really helpful to kind of see other states present information,
Okay.
learn best practices and things like that. So
Wonderful. Well, then
When I was,
we'll put the staff on looking for something like that for us.
I was chairman of the insurance committee, banking insurance committee, when I was in the Senate for about 10 years. And I went to 2 or 3 conferences that were very helpful. So I mean, it doesn't have to be
and
the whole
policy
group
making
to
too.
go.
There's,
Yeah,
it's definitely policy making.
yeah, policy would be a good one.
I think
Yes.
Policy would be a great one to send. He and Mr. Legislative Liaison down.
They have a great program that I attended one several years ago at DHHS dealing with the area that you were in. It is-
Really?
Yes,
Okay.
yes, because a lot of funds are there in those programs.
Okay. Well, we will put the staff on finding us some things like that can help us as well. I know we're working on trying to get some governance training set up. And that's going to be a long session day for all of us if you want to attend it. And I encourage you to when we finally get some dates set up for that. So,
And we get to see what other states are doing.
that's right.
I know.
That's exactly
That could
right.
be very beneficial.
Well, I mean, even today, yesterday, us visiting with Charles Lee, that was really beneficial for me
Yeah.
to really see how they're reaching outside that box. And that's something this group of commissioners seems to be, all of us think outside that box. We are not box thinkers. And that's one of the things I love about this commission. It's not, how we do things at DDSN. It's how are we gonna do things and how are we gonna continue to improve those things. So, I think we have a good executive director who thinks that way as well. She's outside of that box and I like that. I like the fact that we're looking at all of our services and saying, okay, we do this good, but are we doing it the best way we can?
We have to.
And I think our country is
We have to do it
changing
that
so
way.
much and our consumers are changing and their needs are changing so much that we have to continue to look outside that box for ways to individualize these services for those we serve. So thank you, David. That's a great opportunity. Let's have Harley come up and give our director's update from Dr. Fry.
Good afternoon, commissioners.
Good afternoon, Harley.
So I just have a few quick updates that I'll provide, hopefully share some new information with y'all on those. DDSN participated, and when I say DDSN, I mean PJ, participated in the World Elder Abuse Awareness Day walk held at the South Carolina Department of Social Services on June 15th. Other agencies and organizations in attendance included the South Carolina Department of Aging, South Carolina Legal Services, South Carolina AARP, South Carolina Respite Coalition, Vulnerable Adult Guardian Ad Litem of South Carolina, SC Thrive, and the South Carolina Victim Assistance Network. DDSN looks forward to partnering with DSS for this event next year to increase our agency's level of participation. I know that y'all are aware of this, but I just wanted to share that on June 10th, DDSN successfully submitted a grant application to the Administration for Community Living to provide funding and support to enhance service delivery and resources for those in our state with traumatic brain injury. This work will be in coordination with the South Carolina Brain Injury Leadership Council and the Brain Injury Association of South Carolina. So we will be informed on the status of that application and if it does end up getting funded. DDSN has rejoined the Alliance for a Healthier South Carolina. The Alliance is a coalition of more than 50 executive leaders from diverse organizations across the state working together to improve the health and well-being of all South Carolinians. The Alliance places a primary focus on aligning health equity-based goals, metrics, and actions across organizations, institutions, and agencies at the state and community levels, and actively connecting both existing and planned equity-focused work on the policy and practice fronts. I'm aware, based on my previous role at DHEC, that the Alliance will be helping to coordinate our next state health assessment. Having DDSN at the table for this process will ensure those we serve are represented in our state's health assessment and subsequent state health improvement plan updates. Now I'll turn it over to Janet Priest, our Associate State Director of Operations, to provide an update regarding the Interdisciplinary Technical Advisory Committee, or ITAC.
Janet, how are you today?
Doing well, thanks. Good afternoon. So I provided this information during the Finance and Audit Subcommittee meeting, so I was asked to speak about it again. I will speak quickly so that we can move on to Witten Center. I'm talking about an Interdisciplinary Technical Advisory Committee. If I say ITAC, I've abbreviated it because that's what we do, to make it difficult to understand what we're saying. People with the kinds of disabilities that DDSN supports are all very unique. They have very unique needs. Some of those people have needs in addition to those needs that accompany their specific disability, which makes them eligible for DDSN services. Because people are unique, because the DDSN eligibility diagnosis is not all there is to that person, there are some people that we really need to know more about in order to safely and appropriately support them when we are serving them. So, for example, someone may display extremely challenging behaviors, and in order to appropriately support the person, we really need to know the why about why those behaviors are being displayed. And until we know the why, we really aren't unable to craft the support for the person appropriately. So, for example, someone may display inappropriate behavior because it is learned. They have learned that if they have the tantrum in the grocery store, if they have the tantrum in the middle of the floor, they get what they want. If they hit someone, they get what they want. So it is a learned behavior. If we know that it is a learned behavior, we know what to do to address that. Sometimes the behavior may be being displayed because the person is in pain and they are uncomfortable and they're unable to tell us that. So it's a medical or a physical internal medicine kind of reason why the person is displaying this behavior. But you can do what you want behaviorally. If you are in pain, the behavior is going to continue. So in order to support them, we need to know why. And another reason may be mental illness. Some people have an intellectual disability or another kind of disability and mental illness at the same time. And in order to understand them best, we need to fully appreciate the why it is that we see what we're seeing. So once we know the why, we can appropriately support, we can put the appropriate supports in place. Sometimes what we are seeing is that because we don't know the why, we have providers around the state who are reluctant to take a chance on trying to support. They don't know what they're getting into when they're looking at someone. They don't know, if we don't know why something is occurring, then we don't know what supports need to be in place, and that provider doesn't know whether or not they can appropriately support the person, right? So in order to get people the supports that they need, we need to understand why. Once we understand why, we can find providers who can deliver those supports, right? So in order to come up with the why, in order to make sure that we understand people as best we can, and this would not necessarily apply to every person, it would apply to some people. DDSN wants to have an interdisciplinary technical advisory committee. That committee, that ITAC, would be comprised of about 5 professionals. There would be a team leader, a psychiatrist that is skilled in treating people with intellectual disability, an internal medicine physician, a behavior specialist, and then another person who would be probably a case management and policy kind of specialist. So again, we're looking at the person themselves, resources in the community, and what we are expecting of this interdisciplinary technical advisory committee is to come up with recommendations for how the person should be supported. So that may be recommendations for further study. It may be recommendations for different medications. It may be recommendations for the environment in which the person could best be supported. So for example, if you have someone whose behavior is to leave where they stay, elope, and I put that in air quotes, elope, so they leave where they stay, and if they are in a neighborhood, they're going to go to the neighbor's house, they're going to walk in the door, they're going to go in the garage, they're going to be all up in their house regardless, right? So that's the behavior. That is an unsafe behavior. If you're in my neighborhood and you do that in my house, it is unsafe. So in order for that person to be safe, the best environment for that person would not be your typical neighborhood, right? So maybe it's a regional center, maybe it's, we have one provider who has a couple of homes. They are very nice homes, and they are in the middle of what used to be a cow pasture. So you can run and it's a beautiful spot of land. The houses are up on a rolling hill. I know exactly where it is, but you can run for a long time before you get near a road where you would be endangered by hitting a car. You're gonna have to go a little while before you go in a neighbor's house because there are no neighbors. It's a beautiful location, right? But that kind of environment would serve people better than another kind of environment. So the point is this group would meet roughly 4 hours a week. They would come together in person. They would review the records of people that have been referred by the agency. There would be an active discussion so that we could think through the recommendations and we can think through what's most appropriate for those people and come up with those recommendations so that people can get the supports they need in the best place and as quickly as possible. So the estimated cost for a year with the ITAC would be around $130,000 a year. And we are really excited about standing this up because we think it will fill a huge gap right now.
Okay,
So, any questions?
commissioners? I know the Finance and Audit Committee, looked at this, correct?
Yeah, that we were presented, there was no request asked of us. It
Okay.
doesn't hit the $200,000 threshold, so.
It was
Have to
provided
vote.
for information. It's
Yeah.
being provided here for information.
Yeah, so we don't have to vote on this. We just kind of want to make y'all aware that DDSN is moving in this direction. I personally think it's a very wise decision because at least we are individualizing these plans for these people to find the right placements. And I think that's great. Any questions, commissioners?
Thank you.
We're good to go.
Thanks.
All right, is there any further business? Marley, anything else? Okay,
Make a motion to adjourn?
motion to adjourn. We have it on the table. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second. Commissioners, you have on your table, just so you know, the directions to Whitman Center. We will be going there at we're supposed to be there at 2:30. So if you want to stop and get something to eat, these are the ones on the way, the restaurants on the way. So if you need to stop and grab food, you can do that on the way there. And, we'll reconvene at the Whitman Center Chapel at 2:30.
Yes.
Okay. Thank y'all for being here today. And with that, we're adjourned.